My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. All right, sex offender license 8808704. Engaging in the sex offense at Stater Brothers, not a family market. Engaging what is surveillance in the event that my vagina is exposed so that a massive population can keep it under surveillance in the bathroom of that venue. That third party is engaging in a sex offense with Stater Brothers in Ontario Village Shopping Center, the location where I'm at, where sexual assault and battery is occurring as an entity is stalking and molesting with engineer light as they are stalking together, and this is the Nephilim. It is 6:26 a.m. on what is June 30th? Excuse me. September 30th, 2025. I'm looking at June. I said June 30th because I'm looking at the time. It's 6:30. Well, 6:26 a.m. Approximately 6:30. It's 6:26 a.m. on September 30th, 2025. P.O.C. (6:33 a.m.) It's Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. Stalking and harassing, threatening with the agency that is, again, mentally ill. These are psychopaths that continuously engage in criminal conduct, which is thoroughly documented, detailed, and also publicly known, also in real time. Continuously engaging in that targeting in concert with the people of the state while it is facing disbanding. Nonetheless, you're going to prosecute the people of the state that are sharing in that criminal system. License 9TJY703. 7CKM290, 8GMV637, 5TPZ741. These are the demons of Emporia Place. The gang stalking apartment complex at Vine Avenue and Holt Boulevard. 8EQK616, 8AXT089, 85848J1. Light activity on the grounds of this demonic venue. It's not a malfunction. That's demonic when you see the flickering lights. And so this is what you're seeing systematically with regard to the use of hazard lights and construction vehicles, turn signals. This is built into the ways in which the demon possessed are surrounding you with demonic light activity. And that's what's on the grounds of this demonic property, which is Emporia Place. 9HQP063, where the demons, the Nephilim, the Ontario police are gang stalking at the intersection. I took a picture of it. And it's criminal activity. They're going to be disbanded for the evidence of ongoing stalking. 6EWE635, 7XLG751. And so are the people of the state. They're stalking. License 9SYC638, 6LOF030, and they're stalking for a purpose. They're stalking to commit murder as an entity. PG036, handicap, 6CQW414. They are stalking in the most malicious manner, 5HUY831. In order that the targeted individual cannot escape, they're stalking where they live, they're stalking as they travel, they're stalking where they visit, they're stalking where they, any location and at all times, regardless of the status of the property with regard to private versus public, which is, again, another illusion regarding every facilitating venue everywhere you're at, including a public property where you will be prosecuted, you'll be raided, okay, you'll be arrested, you'll be charged with regard to criminal monitoring. 8KRS920. And there's no warrant or probable cause to engage in surveillance where the people of the state live on behalf of that corrupt government, which includes the demons of the Ontario Police Department. And that's a prosecution for the people of the state. 8CZY744, and that malicious purpose is how the Nephilim are targeting American citizens, and the Nephilim fill the state of California. 6RIV718 is included. Of all ages, you've seen the Nephilim, the elderly, you've seen the Nephilim under the age of majority. All right, you've seen the Nephilim of all races, because the Nephilim is reference to a spiritual condition, which is getting to what is a demented mind state, which poses then a national security threat. While demons are indeed stalking, the planes are, as I get off of Holt Boulevard, license 9SMZ062 is where I'm molested. You hear that plane activity? And I'm being molested with light activity at the same time. That is indeed in a gang stalking apartment complex where a psychopath, this is again the behavior of the mentally ill, and this is the Nephilim. They do the same thing concerning knowledge about my vagina. This is a sex offender, 21799M2. Having the headlights on your vehicle is a means of stalking with light, not coincidentally, while the government is stalking with planes. This is Modern Shop. Modern NRE Shop, yeah, they're gang stalkers. A property management, yeah, he's sitting in the vehicle, engaging in monitoring with this is a demon. That's Nephilim. Stalking with light is mentally ill behavior. They do this under the fake sun, and you're going to document that. And first of all, it's freedom of speech. Okay, because it's the reality is you're in public engaging in criminal activity at that, and you're doing so with the government. This is the entity that is engaging in targeting as well. And I want to be clear, it's public information, and also because the people of the state are in the shoes of the government. You're not even a private actor. You're not even a private citizen. But that's okay. I'm going to prosecute with regard to that malice. Virginia, UAZ 3954. Melly's Speed Shop is also a gang stalking corrupt company. Monitoring, while you hear amplified train activity, that's not the actual train, but Union Pacific is going to be prosecuted as the means of the City of Ontario's ongoing criminal facilitation tactics. The sound of the train, which there is a Union Pacific railroad track, but it's not going to be heard everywhere in Ontario. It's certainly not at the volume that the demons are surrounding with. They do it while a fake sun remains over me in the City of Ontario. This is the Nephilim engaging in that, and you're going to prosecute based on that illusion, since you want to present the illusion that Union Pacific is heard everywhere throughout the City of Ontario at an extraordinarily loud volume, including inside of Tracy Banks' apartment. 25197D4. you're going to be prosecuted based on that, as impossible as it is, and it's relevant to your knowledge that this is the Nephilim that is engaged in the pattern of conduct, however. But you're going to associate that with a corrupt company, with a corrupt actor. That is Union Pacific, using the roads and, the railroad tracks, which is relevant to interstate stalking, relevant to interstate commerce. 5YDA771. 8TVY665. And as I walk through the neighborhood and get these demons of Emporia Place, that is, like I stated, all they ever do is confirm that they are indeed gang stalking. When you have a quote-unquote stranger engaging in the pattern of conduct with the government. Stalking, following with the planes aren't following along Holt Boulevard anymore. As I walk into the apartment complex location, that's where the demons, as you can hear that plane activity, it's what is south of my person, not north of my person when they're concentrating on Holt Boulevard when I'm on Holt Boulevard. And they do the same thing with the sun. The fake sun's not off of Vesta and C Street when I'm walking through the neighborhood. It's not on Euclid Avenue when I'm walking south and north on Euclid Avenue, moving in that direction. It's maintaining perfect alignment with me as I'm on Holt Boulevard, keeping in front of my person, moving as I move. It's not in alignment with the Stater Brothers entrance as I'm at the storefront, and it's piercing low enough to be underneath the entryway, the covering, and also magically creating sunlight above all of the Nephilim's head while they're pacing around in what is engineered light and engineered audible activity. This is the Nephilim that are stalking where they live. That's why I'm reading their license plates. They're going to be prosecuted where they live as well. And the federal government has the ability to raid where they live as well. License 5WLZ189. That's how you know that they're gang stalking at Emporia Place. You also know that because I documented the Ontario Police stalking me at the intersection of Vine and Holt Boulevard as I'm there. License PK377 handicap. License 6TPZ141, 8VSL098, 8CQY342. 9MJH063, FJ982, that's a handicap plate, 98387. That's a California plate, but it has little letters DLR and then 98387. 8LKX705, 7NND296, 9NQD849, 9ABR637, 6PJA362, 7LGM829, 49072W1, 9HWR513, 6UYB216, parked in space number 29, 9HFR488, number 28, 8MUK805, space 27, 25032P1, space 25, 8PTR152, space 24, 9AWS528, space 23, 8HAE029, space 22, 9TID705. Just in case I did not read those already, but I'm going to go ahead. Space number 18 is 9BLU280, space 17, 5KNY164, license 9MJH063. Yeah, I believe I read these here. Okay. And those are just the license plates that are available for me to see in the parking lot. That's plane activity, that's amplified plane activity, just like the purpose of the train activity, it's amplified audible activity. And guess where? When I stay here, you know where the fake sun is going to rise? Right here at Emporia Place. That's also how you know that they are stalking. 7Y43881, 6NCA277. And the entity that's engaging what is stalking under a fake sun is your recognition of what the Nephilim's purpose is. Stalking you while they are keeping light. And it's not even normal light. It's not headlights. They're molesting with engineered light. Just like that's not the sun. I've proven that. And science confirms that. And so does logic sense. Excuse me. So does common sense and logic. And it's also engineered light when they keep a fake sun over me. So that's the objective behind the asininity of the documentation proving a fake sun where the Nephilim are targeting me. 6LPL023, 9TKT318, 8HLX139, 6JEZ903, 9HOE696, 9NLX799, And Emporia Place itself, just like downtown Ontario luxury apartments, which is just a title. That's like calling yourself a Christian when you're the Nephilim. It doesn't mean anything. There's nothing luxurious about being a demon and being a stalker. You're even being a stalker while you're at your home, not minding your business. You're minding my business while I'm outside. Anyway, the entity is in calling itself, CEASELESS Regis is a third party, just like the Emporia Place Apartments, just like Avanath Capital Management, just like CEASELESS Regis Group. Okay, excuse me, not CEASELESS Regis Group. Speaker Companies Incorporated, 6AFL 632, as I'm documenting gang stalking at places of residence, which are third-party facilitating venues, meaning the government is engaging in surveillance. 84454, 6SIP 104, 9UHL 512, and they are in the shoes of the government. They are not private citizens, and it's not private property. 9GBV 335. Coming down the street, surrounded with light activity. 8FUM002, stalking by crossing path. 8XNT936. And that's what they're doing on Holt Boulevard. Stalking me coming down the street is to maintain crossing path. 6YJW625, 9CNX174. 8YQW358. 7YSE321, 6EJU475, 9HDT328, 6LRB111. Again, that's 6LRB111. And I've documented Emporia Place, like I stated yesterday, over the years. The whistle is thoroughly blown on them already. There's no exception, in other words, with regard to my evidence, speaking to what an entire state of California is engaged in, the entire state, as I have ripped through the city of Ontario and ripped through Los Angeles County, showing what the entity is doing. It's what the entire state of California is doing. And it is also Nephilim that's doing it. These are demons. This is the demon possessed. 6UBM891. 4NCE835. 8VVK344, 9GEZ659, 6NSL427, 8TVH565. And in the same way that this entity is keeping me under surveillance, so is the Ontario Police while they are stalking at the intersection of Vine Avenue and Holt Boulevard, 9NMA033. And you know that context is when the fake sun is over me as I arrive at that intersection, any intersection, 8XZV456, 9SJH893. That is also a knowledge to you, for you to know that the police are stalking me as I'm at that intersection, and they are doing so to communicate a threat, which is very well noted. They're being disbanded. 9BSU730, 5XCR369. To engage in stalking someone and then at the same time approach that person as though you have authority under the law, someone who is not stalking, there's the psychoanalysis. That's the mental illness. 7ZOV563. The Ontario Police are being disbanded for being the embarrassment that they are and for being the criminals that they are, very malicious criminals. These are murderers. They're murderers. And they are kidnappers. They're thieves. These are nothing other than gang members. They're gang members. That's it. License 9MBK063, 8BGP206, 22849U2. If I didn't already read that demon's license plate, as they hop in their vehicle from Emporia Place, very likely, and sped by me, or it's another third party, they're stalking nonetheless. Just want to be clear. That is, again, Emporia Place at Vine and Holt, threatening me with the state. It's P.O.C. It's currently 6:48 a.m. 8GYG431. Remember, as I'm walking on Holt Boulevard and demons on the roads and the highways on Holt are molesting and terrorizing and stalking with impossible light that was spreading, fanning across the same walls that I'm walking by right now. That is information that they're all monitoring, and this is license 9CRR137, who is also monitoring. You're mindful of the pattern of conduct at all times, and while they engage in that pattern of conduct, it tells on everyone. Just want to add that's P.O.C. I'm at the same location. That's the offense that they committed as an entity yesterday, and the pattern of conduct is ceaselessly underway, and they're monitoring now, just like they were monitoring yesterday through that incredible means to psychologically torture, harass, threaten, and intimidate the ordinary target individual that's subject to a bunch of demons, the Nephilim, who are stalking them with impossible light activity, which the demon-possessed practice while they're monitoring. This is at Holt and Laurel, P.O.C. CTV111. City of Ontario stalking with light activity using a tractor trailer. That's light activity. License 1544468. That's the Ontario Montclair School District. The demons that are gang stalking with and through minor children, posing a threat to them, both spiritually attacking them, engaging in criminal activity with them, doing so under the guise of children and being interested in children and things that concern children, like their education. And they're also engaged in gang stalking me as the Nephilim in doing so. It's 6:55 a.m., 9 KAP 550. Let's get moving. National Seating and Mobility. They're a gang stalking corrupt company. A demon. 34180X3. 8WLA 664. 7UN 836. 9MDP 411. License 9FXA 431. 6KLL 436. 80909N3. 9NNX 093. 7CRC 035, 7BRW 357, 6C 80392. Okay, just so that you hear me read license plate after license plate. You hear me read license plates of many of them, not all of them, at an apartment complex. That and more. Everyone is monitoring my vagina. 31051S3. These are sex offenders. The Nephilim are violent sex offenders. License plate 9RAR173. And they satiate their perverted and secret sexual impulses while they're gang stalking as a demon-possessed population. That also calls itself a police department, by the way. 8WSG186. 56891H1. 8SYR688, 9LBX858, 87JN340. They're perverts, all of them. When they monitor someone, they're monitoring your genitalia. They're monitoring every detail, every moment of your life, including when you're indisposed. Those of you that would never put your nudity on the internet, it's public information, and they're gratified by keeping you under surveillance in that manner that you don't know about, that they are aware would traumatize you in one way or another, and they also get off on what is doing that to you unbeknownst to you. This is the Nephilim. That's the spirit of the sex offender that is possessing all of them. Satan is a sex offender. That spirit comes from him. All right, that's the entity that's gang stalking, sponsored by the government. The government's a sex offender. License 8WPH694. This is what the Nephilim are doing. Every single last one of them. All I'm doing is letting you know, because I'm going to prosecute businesses, but the Nephilim are driving the business, these commercial vehicles. The Nephilim are making up the constituents of that business. It's the same population. These are sex offenders. The Nephilim are the sex offenders you need to be aware of. They're the mentally ill that you need to be aware of. 8YTM016, 6PNF947, 9UIC016, 9CEB112, 9PFY355, 9TUA565, 9AQP 607, 7WTB210, 9NRH, you can scratch, I can't see the rest of one, 9MEE214, Signal Security 8WVY154, they're threatening people, endangering them, not securing them, 7NYT176. Security, just like a Christian church, it's just a title. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. They're not actual Christians, and they're not actually engaged in what is enforcing the law, protecting those that are law-abiding citizens, engaging in abiding by the law itself. 7HAL331-47342K1 DE13M48. That's a paper plate on a white Ford Fusion. 13213R1. It's a white van. 7WDJ700. 8ZDK841. 7MAP933. This is P.O.C, the entity maintaining surveillance around me at the intersection of HOLT and Euclid. The infamous intersection I have documented many day sunrises and sunsets and midnight iterations of the pattern of conduct. The entity stalking all manner of hell, just having a field day, and it's sitting on the record while they're engaged in surveillance on the roads and the highways. The entity having a field day with helicopter activity, planes over this intersection, rampant impossible light activity, while Satan with the Nephilim were showing you exactly who they are in raw form, and no one has forgotten that. It's sitting on the record, and I've documented this plenty of times. P.O.C. 7 a.m. License 8 ECS 268, a particularly thirsty demon. So we'll go ahead and put that on the record, P.O.C. Thirst is deduced from the amplification and the impossible light activity. That's thirst. Those are demons that are anxious for negative attention. They probably weren't loved by their mother. 23M6806, P.O.C. 8VNL 214. It's 7:02 a.m. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes, and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C., and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. Well, there's Southwest Airlines proving the veracity of everything that I've already established by documentation alone. Engaging in what is takeoff here. You don't hear any plane activity to the right here, and they're making a U-turn. That's what they're doing over there when I'm at the Ontario, and they make a U-turn, which is about right here at the Sky Space. It's based on where I am. License 9 NID 574 is a stalker, and that's the Nephilim engaging in that together. And the peak of her day was to monitor me, and it's pathetic, it's sad. This is the entity that's gang stalking, and then she's wearing scrubs. It's very unfortunate because these are the demon possessed that are in the medical field as well. They are mentally unfit to be in that position. This is the population of demons, and I am the focal point of everything, unfortunately, and that's mental illness on their part. That's criminal conduct by the state. I mean, it's the presence of the Nephilim that are obsessed with the one that they are targeting. This is criminal activity, one demon after another. 9TRZ432, it's criminal activity, one after another after another. It's the criminal act of crossing path. It's stalking. 8GWA172, that's how a population is stalking you, maintaining presence over and over and over. And what Satan is actually doing is pacing all around me, because Satan is not going anywhere. Satan is just pacing all around me. And the context is that they do it under the fake sun. P.O.C. Southwest Airlines doing that at 7:10 a.m. It's 7:11 a.m. This is at HOLT and Euclid. That's P.O.C. City of Ontario is gang stalking. They're maintaining light activity. So is Griffith Construction. They're concerned with me. Not concerned, genuinely concerned with construction. The specific environment surveillance is what is superseding what Griffith claims to be engaged in as a business, losing licensure, being prosecuted as a company, exposed as a terrorist, and also civilly prosecuted as well. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, the video you just listened to, 7:12 a.m. Again, you're looking at that frequency. And you're also paying attention to where the planes are now taking off. And I put that in air quotes because it's not a takeoff. The entity is engaging what is 90 seconds later, another plane doing the same thing, flying in alignment to where I'm at on Euclid Avenue, 8TBM 963, Euclid and Holt. That is while I am south down Euclid, that's where the planes are concentrating position, south of my person. Clearly stalking. 6JZF 156, 9378, hold on, 93878J3, 7NKS 343, 9678 OU1, 88362B4, 31658W3, 7NHX 248, CS 58N41, that's paper, and they have a license plate revealed on the back of that vehicle. And OMNITRANS is also gang stalking, route number 61, bus number 1212. Just like employee 3833 is demonstrating yesterday as an entity with the City of Ontario, license 1613618, gang stalking on traffic cameras as well, while the entity is maintaining aerial surveillance, for which Ronald Leverage, Julia Gu, Alan D. Wapner, Kurt Hagman, those demons that are calling them, that's the Nephilim referring to itself as an airport board, they're engaged in they're domestic terrorists. 77464Y3, those are enemies of the United States. They're engaging in terrorism. 77582J3, engaging in criminal surveillance is an act of what is not only an act of criminal conduct, but it's an act of the behavior, the conduct of an enemy of this country. It's un-American. And you have domestic terrorists that are calling itself an Ontario International Airport and an Ontario airport board. Those are terrorists while the entity is stalking me, because it's very clear how the entity is targeting, both by frequency, location. 7R MW602 is also an enemy of the United States. You need to understand that. 90GP830. The gang stalkers are the domestic terrorists, and that makes up the entire state of California when you're getting to what is the un-American system of the Nephilim that's engaging in this in the United States. They murder American citizens. They keep American citizens under surveillance. They psychologically torture American citizens, utilizing war tactics against American citizens that you are keeping under surveillance. And you do so while you call yourself the government of that same entity. You do so while you refer to yourself as an airport board. That's the entity that's engaging in what is to be exposed and identified as the homegrown enemies that are going to be identified and prosecuted. Okay, P.O.C. The entity proceeding flying over the intersection, and I documented this already. The entity is doing so under the fake sun that's setting at the same intersection as I'm documenting the entity gang stalking by helicopter with the people of the state, 9PDL 757 at this same exact location. 1302459. 58537W3, 7VBJ 471, 71858N2, 25022L3, 5VVK 374, 8VSW 607, IAMROSE. Been documenting that demon for years. License 9BQM 527, 8FJB 269, 7VCD 615. License 6V27387, and the entity engaging in what is this frequency of planes. The entity is engaging in what is hovering, flying diagonally over the Ontario Town Square when I'm at that location where the entity keeps the fake sun. The entity is hovering over the Ontario Museum of History and Arts and over this storefront at the MoneyGram at the intersection where I'm at now, where the entity is engaging in what is frequently every 90 seconds another plane. That's also not published on the website. License 9JEM 396. This is the pattern of conduct, and that's the Nephilim. 9BXX 242. Okay, every female, every woman, in other words, these are homosexuals. That's the reality of what the Nephilim are. They're homosexuals while they obsess over the genitalia of the targeted individual who is a woman, okay? These are women that are obsessing over me, and they're homosexuals as you analyze their behavior. There's no race, there's no racial lines. 8KGS967, a female that's obsessed with my vagina and is obsessed with me and stalking me. 78CZ540, and that is every single last one of them, while this satanic spirit operates over a population. 7PIY986, and then you have their demon-possessed spouses
6GLP328, and that's those that are heterosexual, as they would identify with regard to the illusion that the Nephilim present with regard to wanting to appear as though they're normal, they're families, they have kids, they're homosexual women, and their gang stalking counterparts are obsessed with me as well. They don't even love each other. When you're engaging in gang stalking as a demon, your obsession is the targeted individual, somebody that is not of that condition. 5YHA722, it's not even your family, it's not even minding your actual business. You don't even actually you're not even actually concerned about your kids. 6PES411, who are nothing other than minor little demons in training, unfortunately, okay? But that's the reality. They're engaging in criminal conduct with them. The Nephilim are engaging in the contribution to the delinquency of minors, who are demons. 73201J3. 7984942, excuse me, 7984. I can't really see that one. That's why, by the way, the City of Ontario maintains what is aerial surveillance, as all of the people that stay on the roads of the highways, they have their kids in the car. They're driving school buses with kids on the bus. They're going toward venues where they're going to deal with children, and they're sharing in the criminal pattern of, that's why that's happening. The minor children are the Nephilim. They're the demon-possessed gang stalkers in training. 8VQA505. In other words, I don't want to say like another word, but terrorism is underway in other parts of the world, and they put large weapons in the hands of children. They teach them how to engage in tricking people that don't suspect a child to blow their head off. This is what the entity is doing in the United States, engaging in terrorism with children, via children. 9NEE958 00127Y3. That's Suppose You Drive, that you already know. Their gang stalking facility is on Holt Boulevard. They're gang stalking right now at the intersection on the roads and the highways. All right, and so is the City of Ontario, maintaining light activity. Everybody crossing path at the roads and the highways, they're engaging in what is stalking. And doing so with the airport that is stalking, the airport that's going to be removed. The airport that committed kidnapping with the Ontario so-called police department, and the entity that engaged in assault and with a deadly weapon with the same demons that are stalking the people of the state, that are engaging in surveillance together, 9RDN558, and that third-party actor that committed the offense on behalf of an entity, she's going to prison. She's going to federal prison. That's a demon that's monitoring as I move my arm. She's not waving at anybody at the intersection at a red light. It's license 8JUN913. That's a demon that's monitoring me in concert with everybody else. These are demons obsessed with my vagina. Homosexual females and demon-possessed gang stalking males that act like they're in relationships with people that they love, and the demons don't even know what love is. They have a whole fake existence, and it's very sad. But this is the reality of exposing the Nephilim and the whole corrupt society, when all they're doing is monitoring, day and night, everywhere. And they're engaging in what is monitoring a person. So I'm showing you what this Nephilim conducts itself as, the illusion that they present while they're obsessively engaging in that. P.O.C. License 12359Z3, 8LCR421, 7YGX757, 9EEZ940, 8L24871, 6ZDZ682, NIKTRWL, I believe. Let me see that one. 9JTY549, and it is, by the way, where I'm going to show you the entity just maintaining ongoing aerial surveillance approximately every 90 seconds, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, another plane, and they're maintaining aerial surveillance next to me. That's stalking in the path, that's patrolling. So imagine the entity with a helicopter. You don't have to imagine, you can just look at the evidence. I get it every other day, every night, flying in circles over my head. That's what they're doing, maintaining commercial planes, flying one after another. They're pacing. 8UCS748, that's psychopathic, mentally ill behavior on its surface. It's not even in substance, hidden, passive aggressive, nothing. The entity is pacing, and mentally ill people are pacing. All right, that's the conduct of the demons that go into a frenzy while they're monitoring me. The demons that are monitoring me, they do so in engineer light, pacing repeatedly. That's the psychopath. License plate 08266Y3. That's Griffith Company. California license 88. They're gang stalking, and that company's that licensure and that company's going to be prosecuted. License 7GTS 812 56828G4. And they're gang stalking. They're engaged in federal stalking they're engaged in federal stalking under Title 18. The specific section is 22618, subsections 1 and 2. Ontario Unified School District, they're engaged in federal stalking. Criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder, it is the sex offense. I just want to be clear, that is a basis to remove domestic terrorists from the ability to work with children. That's inherent to a pattern of conduct of the sex offenders that are engaging in this pattern of conduct, and they also pose a threat to children that they are training up to be terrorists and predators, by the way. And they're doing so while the entity is maintaining aerial surveillance for everything that is ongoing. This is the entity that's engaging in what is hovering surveillance, stalking above me, stalking all around me, doing so on a ceaseless basis. That's how obsessed the Nephilim are. 7YXH979, license 8EOH 706, 7HIS 780, 9UAC 380, and it is 7:22 a.m. Yeah. License 8545184, license 9TZY092. Inside of the OVITT Family Community Library, the demon-possessed are engaged in traffic as well, surveillance. Where they're walking, the moment that they're crossing path, it's pursuant to very detailed monitoring of my person, of what I'm doing on my device. And so you're just imagining the demon-possessed are maintaining ongoing relevant position, not in cars on wheels, but on foot inside of that building. And their demons doing so in engineer light. License 5VER20, I can't see the rest of that plate. License 26721M3, license 28261A3, 9EGS 385. This is exactly what the entity is doing inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. All they're doing is stalking. I'm showing you pictures of demons pushing book carts. I'm showing you demons of pictures standing around looking at the posters on the wall. I'm showing you demons of pictures, pictures of demons sitting at the computers around me. I'm showing you pictures of demons coming in and out of the administration office area. 1617540, they're monitoring. They're stalking with noise, just like the entity is with the amplified sound of vehicles accelerating. They're doing so with the sound of the horns honking. They're doing so while they're maintaining light activity. The demons inside of the OVITT Family Community Library have multiple shadows which are not created through the artificial lights inside of that building. They're doing so while the fake sun remains over that building. This is all established evidence. Speaking to what I'm documenting right now, gang stalking by a population on the roads and the highways, and they're gang stalking inside of the building. Stalking with light is accomplished when you have engineer light inside of including the bathroom, where these demons are obsessing over my vagina. 6ZSK331, 8EZG856, 9AKU211, and 6UXT917 is indeed monitoring my vagina while driving on Euclid Avenue, and it is exposed, and the demons are maintaining as an entity surveillance inside of the OVITT Family Community Library, where demons like Sean Thrasher are going to federal prison because this pattern of conduct is exactly what he's engaging in at that venue where he's committed kidnapping. As a sex offender and as a terrorist, you're going to prison. 9FPN789, and the entity does itself a disservice while they convict each other. License plate 7D75450, because that's exactly where you're going. License JJRR888. License 8FMR814. This is exactly where he's going. He's going to federal prison. License 96622E3. Nelson Produce, California 0177188 is a gang stalker. And using that licensure is a violation of the use of the license, of the ability to misuse that license for criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder and making money in doing so. You're losing that licensure, and that company is to be prosecuted. That's how you're going to disincentivize gang stalking amongst the government that uses companies and uses the people of the state, who are going to be prosecuted just like the government. Just like the government. Student Transportation of America, that's a demon. Stalking with light with license 9TLB519. These are hostile demons. This is psychopathic behavior, aiming light while a demon driving a school bus. Student Transportation of America drives through it, which creates light activity, the flashing of light. This is what demons like to engage in, and they also do so inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. Remember when I'm sitting inside at computer station number 1 and the entity has substantial light aiming through a window, and this is impossible light activity because the sun is not going to reflect off of your windshield and create this large beaming light through the window that's also causing light into the depths of the library where demons are pacing in it, like 38592B1 is engaging in outside. The entity is engaging in that inside. I've documented that while I am standing at the laptop dispenser. And as you can see, engineer light on the wall inside of that OVITT Family Community Library, where the sun is not reflecting off of a windshield off the opposite side of the building into the depths nearest the entry of that same venue. And I'm showing you light that's appearing on the wall. And not only is it impossible for that light to manifest, but it's also impossible that I have multiple shadows as I look into it and capture it on video, the appearance of impossible light. The entity is engaged in that as aggressive demons. This is the Nephilim, and the presence of that engineer light is letting you know that they are demons engaging in what is a supernatural pattern of conduct of keeping you under surveillance and surrounding you and molesting you, engaging in the sexual assault and battery, and what are venues that they like to refer to as family and community. They like to use those terms around the gang stalking venues because Satan likes to appear as an angel of light. Okay? They like to call themselves a police department. Those are the Nephilim gang stalking. License. Let's see, vehicle 1119 and 1115. Those are the demons that are stalking me while they are stalking while I'm en route to the Ontario police station, where the entity has the fake sun, that light source over that crime scene that's going to be raided by the feds and is going to be disbanded. While they're stalking, engaging in federal stalking on the roads and the highways, the entity has engineer light aimed inside of that OVITT Family Community Library, which is on video, while they keep the fake sun over that venue. And that criminal system is underway inside of the building. That's exactly what I'm documenting right now outside, where the entity is convicting the demons that are going to federal prison, and it includes Sean Thrasher. He's going to federal prison for accusing me of molesting children. That is aiding in what is Tracy Banks, the entity's malicious assertions to try to defame me so you can get away with stealing my money and my property, and doing so while Tracy Banks is actually the pedophile. The state of California is engaged in trafficking children. Did you know that? The Nephilim is engaged in sex trafficking children. Did you know that? And they make that allegation, that obviously false and a malicious allegation, while I'm documenting them monitoring me. And guess when they engaged in that? Under the fake sun over the OVITT Family Community Library, where the entity is stalking with commercial planes that are concentrating where I'm located. That's what they're doing at OVITT, where no planes are taking off, as the prosecution of the state will show and demonstrate, because you have to show and identify how detailed the demons are, how obsessed with me they are, that they keep their planes around me and their helicopters, and they engage in what is a takeoff over the 280 North Lemon Apartments, when a pilot taking off from 2500 Airport Drive will conduct and complete that takeoff in the sky space of that airport at 2500 and 2900 Airport Road or Airport Drive. It's not going to be over the 280 North Lemon Apartments. It's not going to sound any plane activity. It's not going to hover over the apartment complex, a senior citizen complex, over the OVITT Family Community Library, over the OVITT Family Community Library parking lot at any point, at any time. Neither is it that which is going to be removed from what is published on the Ontario International website, where they are again stalking me on this same street at Holt Boulevard and Euclid Avenue in conformity to a pattern of conduct of stalking me as an airport, stalking me as a police department, that engaged in waging false allegations together, for which Sean Thrasher, amongst others, are going to federal prison for criminal defamation and kidnapping as an entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. License 9KYA833. You're going to federal prison. So the entity that's gang stalking now, that's exactly what they're committing on June 16th. Pay attention to the evidence. June 16, 2022, because you can look at it on my website right now. They're going to prison. All right, you'll see the gang members at the OVITT Family Community Library on June 16, 2022. It's published on my website. It is at thisisthepoc.wordpress.com. You will see the fake sun that is over me, over the entrance, and the entity engaging in what is, again, expelling me from that venue where I'm engaged in private activity. My constitutional rights are the only ones that are intact because I'm not engaged in surveillance with the government. And when you're doing that, you're a government actor. You're not a private citizen. And you're going to be prosecuted for the ways in which you, as the government, interfere with what is a federal investigation of the government while you're conspiring murder by gang stalking, and the entity is targeting me. And the proof of that targeting is the fake sun over that venue, the OVITT Family Community Library, where you see on a daily basis the fake sun is remaining outside of that same OVITT Family Community Library, which is letting you know not only are they engaged in surveillance, but they're demons. And they committed kidnapping, demons stalking in planes, demons stalking in helicopter, including on that day where those demons made a documented malicious assertion that I molested a child, and that's why they kidnapped me. That reminds me of what they just committed the other day. The same demons that are stalking me now, that are going to be disbanded, that's going to be removed as not an airport but a terrorist, are engaging in what is making a malicious assertion that I harassed someone. But that's why you document Satan, because Satan is the father of lies. And you're also going to document because you're going to prosecute in court. The population, 70CR 563, 8DSS 609, 9PCP 358, GODZ, Heart to you, who are targeting you and then engaging in what are conspiring with you with that entity, that would engage in kidnapping in order to obstruct justice. While they're engaged in psychologically torturing you and harassing and terrorizing you with their psychopathic disorders, stalking you with impossible light activity, while they're keeping you under surveillance and keeping your genitalia under surveillance, and then they're hostile psychopaths who are embarrassed and hostile and aggressive towards you because you are exposing it. That's what's going to prison. That's what's going to be committed. That's exactly what they did the other day. Another documented malicious assertion, harassment, but they don't even have evidence of me talking to it because it didn't happen. The only one that I talked to are the demons whose criminal agency is going to be disbanded and raided. The Ontario Police at 2500 South Archibald Avenue. They're going to be raided and they're being disbanded for stalking me. 1693849, P.O.C. It's the same employee, 3833. Route 87, and that's not a coincidence either. She was driving Route 83 yesterday. She knows that she was documented, and she's driving Route 87 this morning. It's currently 7:32 a.m. POC. All right, it is currently 7:39 a.m. and the pattern of conduct is underway via OMNITRANS, and on the roads and the highways, the Nephilim are stalking by getting on and off the bus with OMNITRANS, which is a corrupt business making money off of surveillance with the City of Ontario that's maintaining amplified plane activity on the bus. Okay, this is the P.O.C. The turn signal that you can hear, it's light activity. It's demonic. It's giving you the context of what is the P.O.C. The entity is doing so also while the entity has the fake sun through the window of the bus. And remember, this is Route 87, doing the same thing on Route 61, doing the same thing on Route 66, doing the same thing on Route 83, that do not run the exact same route. And by the way, the entity is doing so for the duration of the day, no matter if I get on those routes in the morning, in the afternoon, or into the evening, the entity maintaining the fake sun over me. The entity stalking with impossible light, doing so while the entire state is engaged in surveillance. And this is the same employee engaged in what is, want to be clear, impunity. And that's again 3833, engaging in terrorizing and harassing as a state actor. OMNITRANS is a state actor, and this is one that is engaging in that pattern of conduct with knowledge that it's documented. So that's a stalker. That's the government threatening you while the government is aware, keeping your evidence under surveillance as though there's no penalty for terrorism in the United States, and doing so with the entity that's maintaining plane activity. It's 7:40 a.m. That's terrorism and ongoing psychological torture that OMNITRANS, a state actor, and that the entity is inflicting upon an American citizen. I'm going to prosecute. It's 7:41 a.m. This is P.O.C. Four eight eight zero zero Victor 3. It's 7:46 a.m. License 6UYK 436 9D JV 806. And I have documented before, and I'm going to document now because it's underway right now, Kaiser Permanente. First of all, you need to know they're engaged in surveillance. And all of that pattern of conduct, the identity of the Nephilim, applies to Kaiser Permanente. This is, again, that population, that criminal activity amongst the medical field. I want to say they're professionals, but demons monitoring at the Kaiser Permanente at Vineyard and Philadelphia. That's a gang stalking hospital. Literally, as I'm walking down the street, this is my documentation, 2019. A demon comes out literally in their scrubs to maintain presence in the path and monitor me while I'm walking on the sidewalk outside of this hospital. I've encountered the P.O.C. and it literally is all the pattern of conduct, and I want to make sure I publicly identify that. It's not the first time. The Kaiser Permanente, that's across the street from the Holiday Inn off of Palmdale in Victorville. That was a Kaiser Permanente. They're gang stalking. They were monitoring me inside of a hotel. They're not consumed with what they should be consumed with. They're engaged in monitoring. You need to understand surveillance is what is the ongoing concern of the demon-possessed, maintaining ongoing obsessive monitoring. Satan is under the delusion that he's going to take over the world and he's going to defeat. It's not going to happen. But the demon-possessed are consumed with this, and monitoring, surveilling everything and everyone at all times is what the Nephilim are engaging in. And it is not what you think that they're consumed with, what they want you to be distracted with, getting your so-called bag, They want you to be distracted with that and not concerned with your walk with Christ. License 9VGZ263, and your walk with Christ is what will open your eyes, what will empower you and also inform you. You're talking about getting all manner of wisdom from Christ Jesus himself. But this is the entity that is very much engaged in what is the pattern of conduct amongst gang stalkers like Kaiser Permanente. 9HJW263, I believe. The entity is keeping the fake sun in alignment with me while I'm on what is Vineyard and Terra Sutre. I can't really see that street, but let me see. Yeah, we're on Vineyard now. Philadelphia. Oh, you can also listen to the announcements. I'm going to get where I'm at right now. The entity's tactic of covering up the fake sun, and then the moment I get off the bus, having the fake sun shining. This is how you know what the employee that's driving the bus, all the demons on the bus are engaged in. But I've documented that tactic so many times, covering it up, and then as soon as I get out the bus, you're going to be prosecuted. Those are demons. They're highly unintelligent, and it's evidence of surveillance itself. You're keeping it under surveillance, and you're also delusional, very low intelligence quotient. Seconds later, the pattern of conduct is underway, but it wasn't seconds before. Those are the imbeciles that I'm documenting. It's pathetic, but this is the P.O.C. And when you document the supernatural, the pattern of conduct is underway. Period. Period. This is the intersection of Vineyard and what appears to be, what is this intersection? Let me see. Yeah, that's Vineyard. And then this would be, Riverside Avenue. Riverside Avenue and Vineyard. Just speaking to the bus route, you can literally look at the bus route and the entity's keeping me under surveillance. 9EPW 508. The 7-Eleven, the Donut Star, the barber shop, some off-brand income tax firm. 12949 is the address I'm looking at. This is all ongoing surveillance. 9GNS957, when an entity is stalking with a fake sun on public transportation, that's letting you know that the entire city is engaged in surveillance. 7JUW004, these are the implications you're getting to when you have the body of evidence proving what it is I've already established as a matter of evidence. Again, then you're just getting to at a macro level. Well, if you're stalking with a fake sun, that's speaking to everybody that I go around, every city I go into, i.e. the whole state is engaging in surveillance. When you're engaging in that pattern of conduct you identify on public transportation, this is surveillance, okay? 6ZRE907 51900Z2 5WFT729 9BBB484 9GVV559 I can't really see that one. And this is, again, a population of demons who know who I am. They're aware of my documentation. The Nephilim are obsessed with me. Now they're obsessed with me when they're not even sacrificing me. And they, again, like the Ontario police did, run as fast as they can off the precipice and time in federal prison just to encounter me, just to gang stalk me. And they're going to federal prison for it, but that's what they do. The Nephilim are obsessed with me now, not because of the intent to sacrifice. They're not attempting, that's not happening. But now they are, because of I'm the one that they're not able to put a demon on and sacrifice me. So now they're obsessed because of this reason. This is a mentally sick population. And this is Satan that's operating through people. It is not the buildup of traffic. These are demons that are stalking. And the fake sun is what you know, as how you know that. Ontario Municipal Utilities, license 1682553. License 7HYU315, that's Student Transportation of America, gang stalking. And so is 9MNV030. It is, by the way, 7:53 a.m. Have an excellent day. Thank you. All right, this is employee number 3833, bus number 3001, license 1693849, and you're going to have what is the also a supernatural coincidence, right? No such thing. It's a pattern. She's driving Route 83 yesterday while I'm documenting the fake sun along Euclid Avenue, and right now I'm at what is Riverside Avenue, and the fake sun while she's driving another bus, but a different route, going not the same way at all, and she's engaging in that pattern. That's, again, speaking to the pattern of conduct. That's a demon that's operating a business that's engaging in criminal surveillance, doing so through what is in concert with the people of the state. 9PYW221 also knows who I am and where I'm at. So does 9TJH133, stalking as a population. So does this demon, stalking with minor children in her vehicle with license plate 7ZUD091. All right, this is employee, let me get that, impossible light activity. She's very hostile, she's very upset. That demon is very, very angry, okay? That impossible light activity is evidence of it. And the fake sun is remaining over me, and that's also not sunlight dragging behind that bus while that demon commits an offense that OMNITRANS is going to compensate me for. That also OMNITRANS is going to be criminally prosecuted for as a terrorist. CP83845. And guess who's engaged in terrorism via the corrupt business moneymaker of the terrorists of the OMNITRANS public transit? Alan D. Wapner, the demon that's being removed as a terrorist of the gang stalking Ontario International Airport. License 1331031. That's a demon driving a Crown Royale. It looks like a Ford, an unmarked vehicle. They've been stalking me in those for years. When I started documenting the entity maintaining surveillance on the roads and the highways, chiefly in Pomona, California, while I'm on the freeway, and I'm noticing a lot of demons following me around in Crown Royales with unmarked vehicles, but I can identify them as some means of the government because they have subtle means of like police lights on their vehicles, even though they had California exempt plates. Some of them are engaging what is covering up their windows, but they were stalking me on the freeways, and that's another one right there. Bearing weapons in the car as well. Just want to be clear. When you're engaging in stalking and furtherance of murder, and the target individual is being threatened by your weapons while you're stalking them, that's federal prison. I just want to point that out. This is what they're doing, and this is how it's going to be prosecuted. This is how it's going to be prosecuted. It's currently, by the way, 7:56 a.m. where the fake sun's over me at Archibald and Riverside Avenue. I came to the Ontario Police Department. The fake sun is over me at the Ontario Police Department after 9 a.m. This is July, okay? The entity has the fake sun over me at this intersection, which I took pictures of well after 9 a.m. And the entity is at 7:56 in the morning with this fake sun, while that same employee, number 3833, regarding that same bus line, but a different route, the impossible that would be the sun, the impossible regarding that light activity, and also the coincidence of it being even the same documented person speaking to a pattern of conduct of targeting by OMNITRANS also. You can even point that to what is targeting me using a specific employee. Two different routes, same fake sun, same P.O.C. But I want to be clear, it is also evidence of targeting because when I am at this intersection in July of 2025, after this entity committed kidnapping and theft of my property, the entity has the fake sun over this same intersection where the Nephilim are proven to be engaging in the system of surveillance that I've already proven. So you're going to look at that evidence, and it's prosecuting the whole state of California. These are the demon-possessed. And you're bearing weapons, threatening an American citizen, stalking them with your guns. You're going to prison for that. You're a terrorist, and you're going to there's no other clear way for me to put it. The Nephilim are dense. They are literally special needs. They're going to prison for the things that they're doing now. They're going to be locked up and committed, but they're doing it, and they're doing it because I'm showing you how the rules, how the laws are going to operate. And this is how it's going to be. It is currently, again, 7:58 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, Ontario PD engaged in criminal summoning with the people. License 8ZCZ576, taking one for the team that already lost by crossing path at what is Cog Hill and Archibald. As I pull out my phone, those are the demons that are monitoring my vagina. They also know what's going on with my vagina between my legs in private spaces while he's monitoring by driving down the street to cross path as I'm documenting criminal summoning. License 43816Z1. Gang stalking where they live. License plate 9KLR497. License plate. The demons driving buses, 7JJX022. Demons are going to be removed from those positions, by the way. Go ahead. Monitoring where they live. 7WID520, 7JXN808, 6NYT698, 9PGB816. They're all engaged in surveillance with the police who commit kidnappings, egregious acts of the violations, the human rights and constitutional rights of exceeding the Fourth Amendment, by the way, when they're engaging in kidnapping you pursuant to criminal surveillance. And they're doing so where they live. And their license plates is what I'm documenting. It's them and more. I'm only getting a sample. 8MFJ850-6HAT732. They have the convenience. This is exactly what's going to be disrupted. The convenience of keeping an American citizen under surveillance and the convenience of your own home. Engaging in the sex offense of federal group stalking monitoring and the comfort and the convenience of your own home. Engage in psychological torture, the satanic means of targeting through the convenience of being in your own home and doing so. And your home is a facilitating venue, not a private property, and you are a public actor. You're not a private citizen, and you're in the shoes of the state, and your home is a facilitating venue fully exposed to being raided. 7G KX160, 7ELK484, 8AHN605, 7PCD481, 7RXU014, P.O.C. Monitoring this demon. I'm not scared of him or his dog, okay? This entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct. The entity has the fake sun. I'm gonna go ahead and show you that. That's also how you know at Dunes in Canterbury. They're monitoring where they live. Okay. You also know that when the entity gang stalks me by helicopter as I walk through the neighborhood, they're monitoring where they live. You know that when they're engaged in a traffic stop, that's criminal summoning, or sounding the sirens as though they have it's criminal summoning in the specific environment. They're monitoring where they live. The entire neighborhood is fully exposed to being raided. Okay. The federal government that's engaged in prosecuting the state of California, you're talking about raids for deportation. The whole state's engaged in terrorism. 8SUM333. You're talking about raiding them in their homes to engage in what is capturing the immigrants that are engaged in terrorism in the state of California for this criminal offense. You're talking about raids regarding terrorists that are going to be prosecuted just like you would raid the police department. License X6A8DH, that's an Arizona plate, and they put themselves in that position for engaging in terrorism with the United States government. They did that to themselves, and those are that's a fact. That's a legal conclusion based on how the people of the state are violating the law by targeting with the government. 9KLR497, 9EYE461, 5WDF587. 6TQY556, in the same way that an American citizen can't escape, or so Satan thinks, the pattern of conduct so that they can snuff you out and take your life. Guess what? The demon-possessed people of the state, the entity, they can't escape justice. You cannot escape this. You're not getting out of it. 5XRD677, and they can get you many different routes. They can get you 5ETW361, 5SAR846, 5RBD311, 9TMC703, 5WHG791, 30226E3, 8RFB402. This is the entity that committed kidnapping. This is the entity that lied and stated that I harassed them while they are harassing me, stalking me with planes and helicopters in concert, being psychopaths, sitting around, keeping me under surveillance, stalking with that government. This is the entity that committed that kidnapping together. 6K41866. Being raided where you live is a small token in the path toward justice. They need to experience what that terrorism, that's what domestic terrorists deserve. You deserve to be terrorized by those that will enforce justice. You should be on the edge of your seat. All right, you should be very nervous and anxious because you don't know when it's going to happen. That's exactly the position you belong in, because you're not. It's un-American, and you're not going to engage in what is state-sanctioned murder, state-sanctioned torture, state-sanctioned criminal conduct, and then think that the gang members of some corrupt police department, that department will be disbanded. It will be removed, and guess what? It's a liability to you. It's a liability to you as it's associated with you, and anything concerning you, they're not protecting you. They'll be prosecuted, you'll be prosecuted. There's no cooperative act of protection or anything like that. In other words, they'll be handled and you'll be handled. There's no, so you're breaking that whole system up. 9HBC 506 comes out of their facilitating venue gang stalking and doing so. At Cog Hill and Archibald, it's P.O.C. You're engaged in criminal summoning. Ontario police stops on a motorcycle, stops a demon driving a commercial vehicle on what is Archibald, and is monitoring and doing so. And so are all those demons inside of their homes. Those are their license plates. This is P.O.C. It's 8:08 a.m. 9TES 906. right, 1591658. It's a white male, Ontario police stalking on Archibald, crossing paths with all the rest of the gang stalkers. And the facilitating venue, that is the crime scene of the Ontario Police Department, where, again, Satan's own cockroaches, that's their headquarters for criminal surveillance, proven through evidence already. That's where the crime scene of federal group stalking monitoring is also documented. They're also gang stalking on the roads and the highways. That's what I'm speaking to. Federal stalking, 9ROA055. Crossing path at 8:14 a.m. This is P.O.C. Oh, I did capture that in images. They're stalking. It appears to be a white male with a mustache. P.O.C. All right, license 90NF973, and I'm documenting the pattern of conduct. ICE maker, or ICE, it's another third party, particularly, I believe, a vendor with ARCO. They're gang stalking, and the demon does so by amplified noise, and everybody's gang stalking by they're in position at the gas stalls at ARCO, and the fake son's there. It's the same P.O.C. But then what is sitting over me while the Ronald Loveridge and Alan D. Wapner are terrorizing me while commercial planes, including Southwest Airlines, United Airlines, etc., are flying over my head at the Ontario Town Square, where the fake son is at 224 North Euclid Avenue. It is not going to be at the ARCO on Riverside Avenue and nearest the 60 freeway. And then bigger picture is the entity has the fake son while I'm in Tracy Banks' vehicle, license 4WON432, in August, same time of year, 2021, after, again, this entity committed kidnapping pursuant to a fake warrant and a fake case because F. Ramos is not a real person, and the entity was engaged in gang stalking me. Obstruction of justice is what Lester Keys and Jason Knighton were committing. This is, again, a long documented history, and the entity has a fake son on this 60 freeway. I'm capturing video of it while I'm on this freeway that I'm looking at right now at 826, and the fake son is in alignment to the same person, same time of year, that duration of time. That's the analysis of targeting. And then a psychopath that you document. It's like, oh, what was that for? That's the Nephilim, okay? That's the Nephilim right there. That's a threat also. While the entity engages in that conduct, they also engage in, this is my private property, and we don't want you taking pictures, while that's actually a demon-possessed gang stalker targeting you with the state. And in the face of all that evidence, again, this is what the entity does when there's no evidence and you're targeting somebody and you're pinpointing them and engaging what is bullying up on them. The entity is surrounded with evidence, and it's also going to remove all the illusions of private property. It's going to remove the illusion of the natural environment. It's going to remove the illusion of being a private citizen and having things like private property where you are not engaging in criminal surveillance. That's where private property is, where the government can't surveil American citizens through you. And this illusion, that illusion is going to be wiped off the map. And that illusion for which the entity kidnaps, you're going to prison for it. That's called malice. You know exactly what I'm documenting, Satan. And the more you speak, the more evidence relevant to your mental illness, which is being documented. And it's going to be a matter of what is your federal prosecution. 6PEL205, 5BJL160. And so this is what you're looking at. You're never looking at any of the evidence in a vacuum. That's what the demons want you to do. You're looking at the evidence with regard to that which is accumulated in order that you see what the natural environment is. If you're not aware about what's going on in Florida 3 hours ahead under what is a necessarily fake sun because there's only one, then you're looking at what I'm capturing on this morning as something that is supposed to appear what Satan wants you to look at it as, again, when you are necessarily ignorant and looking at it through a vacuum in an isolation by itself. You're speaking to what is supposed to create the illusion of the normal natural environment, and everybody's minding their business, and they're private citizens engaging what is minding the law. The police department is legitimate. They have full authority under the law. The people of the state are private citizens, and they're minding their business, and they don't know you. All right, and this is the entity that's engaging in that conduct. When you're looking at it in isolation, and none of the pattern of conduct is that what you're looking at in isolation. But even so, this Ontario Police Department, even when you look at it in isolation, is clearly targeting. Because I document every day, even on the surface, harassment and targeting by that agency. And then in substance, your demons, it's the Nephilim that are engaged in monitoring. 7JGL956, 2002684, 6SWV768, 7YIL378, 85074E4. Like I stated, you can look at it in isolation, what I documented yesterday. You listen to my whole podcast. There's no encounter. There was no conversation. And the federal government that's engaged in what is witnessing my public investigation, there was no encounter, there was no conversation, and there was no harassment, as contrary to what came out of the mouth of the Nephilim that committed a kidnapping, egregious violation. I mean, that demon just walked right up to me and put his hands all over me and started roughhousing me and ripped through my property. Okay, that's not policing. Also, that's that's not law enforcement. That is surveillance. That's the bullying system of surveillance, and this is what they do to people that don't have a voice, and people that also they also just accept it because maybe they've got a criminal record, maybe they've done one or two things before, and they let the police get away with this stuff because they don't know their rights, etc., etc. That's the type of stuff, the type of situation that you're dealing with. Okay, and this all that's coming to a stop. It's coming to a halt because this is surveillance. On top of that, you're engaged in what is just going around battering people. Those demons are going to prison, but that is the P.O.C. 5WOB 877, 7TAW 722, 44721M3, 5SCS 698. This vehicle looks abandoned. It looks like it's got spider webs and everything. I'm still going to read the license plate. This is the paper plate over here, 603018U, a 2008 GMC. It's a paper. It's a piece of paper on that license, on that vehicle. And license looks like 7XNZ686 on a Honda Accord that it looks abandoned. It's got spider webs, a flat tire, and everything. But I document everything. All right. This is the P.O.C. The entity stalking in the back parking lot with the contractor. One of those trailer tractors. It creates light activity, and it's a means of a stalker being around me. Okay, doing so. I'm focused on picking up this trash back here, picking up these leaves, picking up this hay. They're monitoring. License 95116K3. Just reading one of the demon's license plates in this Ontario Police Department parking lot, where Engineer Light, the sun that's over Ontario Town Square and over my hotel room at Economy Inn, is not over anywhere location near the Ontario Police Department parking lot. In the vantage where you're going to look at the shadow of the gate, that's going to show you the position of the fake sun relative to where I'm located. The address, you're getting very deep, the ecological location, the position of the sun, the position of my person. This is how detailed, to a scientific degree, the entity that's going to be prosecuted. We're not just throwing out, oh, it's not the sun and that's that. No. It's going to be even more my evidence in and of itself, okay? But it's even more to a scientific degree. Latitude and longitude is what I'm getting to. The direction, look at the light activity, look at the shadows, where the direction of that fake sun, the direction I'm facing. The entity is already prosecuted and exposed as the Nephilim. They're exposed as demons. But I just want to point that out. Let me get to, because there's some license plates I can see over here. License plate 4PJR511. License plates 9LFR129, 9PYB791. And a demon accessing that vehicle on this side of the parking lot is not a coincidence. It's a means of stalking in the path. Okay, maintaining presence, a stalker that comes to their vehicle and gets in it, and they're creating light activity and audible activity. That's, again, license 9LFR129. Let me show you the fake sun right behind me. At the parking lot of the Ontario Police Department, this African-American male is gang stalking by focusing on what is in the mirror while he is stalking in the path while the entity is keeping a fake sun. That's the entity. You can, like I said, you can do whatever it is that you want to do where you think, and that's because you're a delusional psychopath that's engaged in what is delusional behavior. I'm looking at the ground, therefore I am not stalking you. I'm talking to another person, therefore I am not focused on you. I've never met you before, therefore I'm not gang stalking you. All of the false premises upon which gang stalking relies, and I'm going to prosecute based on the mentally ill that are engaged in this targeting system. Highway Patrol. License 9TYN178 is that African-American male gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department as well. Highway Patrol, license plate is back here in the parking lot of the Ontario Police Department. Fake sun is over me at my position at this angle of the Ontario Police Department. And remember, the entity has a fake sun over my head at the entrance of the Ontario Police Department during the 9 a.m. hour, as I documented in July of 2025. And the entity has the fake sun over me at 11 in the morning at the entry of the Ontario Police Department in August of 2021. The entity has the fake sun over me at the same same entry of the Ontario Police Department after 3 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon in August of 2021. This is indeed gang stalking, license 1661626. That's a California exempt plate, documenting state and, well, they're all state actors while they park their vehicles in the parking lot of the Ontario Police. License Ontario Police Department, 6XCV772. 8DTS 448 74388B4, I believe. And the deer vehicle is a means of light activity. Okay, I took a picture of that. You can hear it. It's monitoring. License. And again, how do you know that the entity has the fake sun over the Ontario Town Square? That's why. In other words, what is the Ontario International Airport doing in the natural environment? It doesn't exist. They're engaged in gang stalking. And where is that fake sun? At the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library upon exit. It's still there at the Ontario Town Square. It doesn't move. So when is it ever going to be at the Ontario Police Department on my back while I'm facing the parking lot of the Ontario Police Department? When is that going to happen? Because I've already captured the evidence proving that they're gang stalking while the fake sun remains for 11 hours at 224 North Euclid Avenue. So when is it going to be? Simultaneously. It's ubiquitous, right? It's everywhere, all the time, over everyone in the same manner, whether you're stationary at one address or whether you're on the 60 freeway driving north and south. That's what's happening. These are the demons that are being prosecuted, okay? The unintelligent illusion that the entity never anticipated was going to be investigated and explored with regard to showing the Nephilim's presence. 8S44489, stalking in the parking lot, driving in the parking lot, monitoring me. X996KO. You need to understand that Mike Lorenz is engaging in criminal monitoring. All right, and he's aware of every syllable with regard to his being exposed as an enemy of the United States, and the evidence shows that as an enemy of the United States, he engaged in more conduct, more war tactics as an enemy of the United States. You're not just targeting me, you're targeting American citizens. You're not just targeting this evidence, you're targeting what is the ability to expose and identify enemies of this United States that intend to harm this country, that intend to harm the purposes of this country, and intend to harm what is, and understand the corruption of the executive branch. That's a very specific agenda with the intent to harm this country. They do it by being engaged in and involved in the government itself. And those are the terrorists. Those are the domestic terrorists. This is relevant to the corruption of the executive branch, which is what a gang stalking police department is. 19498D4, 7JXC609. Very dangerous. And what I'm letting you know, this is what I'm stating. We're under surveillance by outside countries. The United States that's engaged in criminal monitoring, we're under heavy-duty surveillance, and it's demonic. You need to understand the other countries are keeping the United States, keeping us under surveillance, knowing the level of detail. So let me detail this to you again. What's going on with your genitalia, who your children are, if they have spiritual gifts. If you are a Christ follower, you are a threat to the Nephilim. If you have, again, whoever you are, your credit card numbers, you think you have privacy and you do not. What I'm exposing that the United States government is doing is what other countries are doing. And you need to understand in the way that this country is engaged in what is betrayal of its own country and principles, and its citizens, it has engaged in betraying us with other countries, other parts of the world. We've already been sacrificed. You need to understand that. It's beyond the demons that are being disbanded in Ontario. This is small potatoes. There's a bigger picture here. And you need to, I'm not stating that you need to be fearful, because those that are with Christ, you know Christ, there is nothing to fear here. Okay? You have access, first of all, to him himself, and Christ Jesus himself, and you know how this ends. But I want to be clear, it is not the Lord's will that you be ignorant. You don't walk around in a bubble and be ignorant about what's going on. Do not be deceived. What you're being told, fed, the propaganda you're getting on the news about what's going on when the president met with this world leader and they sat at the G20 conference and they agreed and this is what we're going to do about it and the tariffs and this is what's happening. You're being fed what is an angle. And this whole system, nobody's talking about that. And the reality about what they're actually talking about when massive surveillance is underway of every single last person, and the entity, and that's relevant to the harm that is on for purposes of what is some sort of Satan is pathetic in my mind, but this is the Satan is engaged in what is trying to do and working toward what the Lord God already knows. Satan also knows that he has a limited amount of time, and even though he also knows that he's ultimately defeated, Satan's job is to do that anyway. He's going to try anyway, and because what is his objective? Because he's taking as many people to hell with him as possible. That's why. So that's literally, people are deceived when they engage in what is a loss. Ultimately, you lose, okay? But what is it? It's a short-term victory while they, kill as many people as possible, kill people that, again, are being targeted, and you don't know that they're being targeted, and even the details of their demise, it's a lie, which is tragic. That's tragic. It's sad. And a lot of the harms inflicted is based on ignorance. And so you are doing good with regard to knowledge, okay? You need to not be ignorant and not be ignorant about what is actually going on in the United States. Massive surveillance is going on, and with the exposure of criminal surveillance and the exposure and the presence of the Nephilim, demons, monitoring, ceaselessly everywhere. Okay. Yes, it's public corruption by the government. If you need to understand that the Nephilim are here, you need to understand that this is happening abroad. Okay, so we are not just being kept under surveillance, and our violation of the illusion of what are our constitutional rights being violated. It's not just our own government. It is outside of the United States, and that needs to be understood. That's all I'm stating, is not, don't be ignorant. Okay, so just want to, there's a lot of insight and wisdom that you can gain with information, with facts, okay? It might not, it's a lot of it, because it's going to happen, period, because the Lord has said that there are things that must happen before he comes. It's going to happen, period. But you know how it ends. And also, you are talking about what you can do with information, and you're not being ignorant, and move accordingly. Walk in wisdom, okay? So, license 8HXG266 PTYNPRT 8TZP 692 BH95F54 paper plate. These are demons parked in the parking lot of the Ontario Police Department. These demons engaged in kidnapping. These demons are stalking me, keeping me under surveillance, stalking and terrorizing by helicopter, and they're engaging in what is the practice of witchcraft. They engaged in this criminal conduct, which is going to disband them and put them in prison, as I've documented, and as the law shall dictate based on the offenses that they engage in it. And they did so because of their what they're typically doing to people, which is spiritually attacking them, putting demons on them. And that doesn't work on me. And so now I have a body of evidence. I'm going to prosecute you with my sane mind, and I'm going to have you committed with regard to your psychopathic, demented mind. The entities engaged in this because they were seeking to, they're spiritually attacking. These are demons. And they're also engaged in what is criminal conduct. It's relevant because they represent the government. And it's a failed sacrifice. And they sacrificed this whole department. And many of them sacrificed their freedom. No exaggeration. Their failed witchcraft. Stalking me day and night in a helicopter is a spiritual attack. Okay? They're doing so with regard, and they're delusional. They do it over and over and over again, and you don't pick it. This is how delusional they are. And you're already mentally ill by stalking somebody in a helicopter in the first place. So then when you're not getting the result that you typically get, and you've been doing it for years, and you're not getting it no more, and then you keep on doing it, and you see me holding up this camera, you see me, I'm putting it right on the internet. You are triggered when I put it on the internet. You're triggered when I put it online and I analyze you, your behavior, your criminal activity, all right, and your mindset. So what is it that you are accomplishing? This is the entity that's not able to connect or accept reality, in denial about it, because you know where that sacrifice is hitting. You know where those demons are going. You know where those death spirits are going to, you know where they're going to, you know where they're routed toward. It's not me. It's not Erica Spencer. Okay, this is failed witchcraft, spell work, failed voodoo, failed black magic, failed sex rituals. This is the Nephilim that are being exposed, and they're also being prosecuted because it's operating under the name of the Ontario Police Department. And I'm going to prosecute for that. It is domestic terrorism in the United States. License 9GXN957 CY87K07 8SLW724. All right, I just want to get a sample of that's the parking lot, and if I needed to, I don't need to, but if I needed to, I would get every single last vehicle engaging in surveillance. Is so pathetic inside of the Cal Technologies vehicle. License 38563V2. They are stalking me by accessing their vehicle, the nearest one, whoever is nearest to me. That's the demon that they send out to maintain presence all around me. And how do you know that? Because the fake sun that should be at the Ontario Town Square, but hold on, even before that, the fake sun that should be outside my living room window in Los Angeles, outside of Alvarado Gardens, apartment number 6, building 1806, has moved from the back portion of the parking lot to the front portion, the front entrance portion, and has done so at 8:44 a.m. And it's still going to be in this same sky space over me through the window of Tracy Banks' vehicle, like I documented in August of 2021 at 3 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's how you know that this is a demon accessing the Caltech Technologies vehicle, gang stalking me, and doing so with the police, by the way, at the facilitating venue. License 38563V2. That's how you know. And it's very specific and detailed. It's not vague and ambiguous. It's not, oh, what are you talking about? There's no way that you can tell. Yes, you can, Satan. And it was never clever in the first place. You're targeting people just because they're not capable to put their spiritual finger on what you're doing and then prove it through evidence and also prosecute you under existing laws. That doesn't mean that you're clever. It just means that you're a demon waiting to target the wrong person, and that's what I represent. Okay, the entities engaging in this, and they're doing so pursuant to a very specific pattern of conduct. In fact, the fake son being here is putting Sean Thrasher in federal prison, just like that. All right, it is currently 8:45 a.m. This is P.O.C. The Ontario Police Department is engaged in criminal conduct. They're monitoring inside of a police department. It does not get any more embarrassing than this. Not only the fact that you're engaged in criminal conduct, but then I'm coming to the police department, exposing it as a demonic agency. And I'm also showing, literally prosecuting them for criminal activity that they're engaging in inside of the police station. But that's the reality. It's P.O.C. It's 8:40. Alrighty, I am at 2500 South Archibald Avenue. And I'm going to, on YouTube is where I'm going to publish this video, and you're going to look at the related content that I'm going to attach to this video, because what you will see is the fake sun during the 3 p.m., 4 p.m. hour. I will attach the specific one that I'm talking to, and that I'm referring to, and while I'm at the same location and same time of year, August of 2021, as I'm walking inside, and the demon, Tracy Banks, kidnapping with this corrupt agency, the fake sun that you see reflecting off of the building, which means that it's in close proximity, and it's also at a very low elevation, because that's not where the sun would be located. This is the fake sun here, and this is where the fake sun is over the top of this building at the end of the day, that's actually afternoon, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm capturing the same presence of the fake sun. In other words, that's what you're getting when the fake sun is reflecting off of the same location where it's hanging over the same building, 2500 South Archibald Avenue, which is letting you know that these are demons. And these being the entity that committed kidnapping, Vivanco, 20850, he's going to federal prison, while his gang stalking demon-possessed fire chief, his boss, Mike LORENZ, is gang stalking at the Ontario Police Department, where the sun is not going to be present, reflecting off of the same location, where it's sitting on top of that same location at 3 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's the video I'm going to refer to you, and this is criminal surveillance by a police department that is going to be disbanded. This is what they're doing at the Ontario Town Square with the Ontario Police. Stalking in the path under the fake sun. This is the Paul Leon that's being removed from office, 1682516, because of the criminal surveillance by the municipality. This is the Nephilim. And they're monitoring my vagina. That's also why Paul Leon's being removed from office. It's also why the Ontario Police is being disbanded, amongst what is the Nephilim putting their hands on me and also stealing my property. All right, stealing my property, damaging my property, and doing so, which is also theft of evidence. The sun is not going to be sitting on the top of the same building where you're looking at it reflecting off of this building, which is what I documented. And I'll refer that to you. Everybody inside of the police station is a demon. And everybody inside of this police station is engaged in criminal surveillance under Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. And they're also doing so in furtherance of murder. And then the Nephilim want to be referred to and revered as a police department. And the prosecution is going to prove otherwise. License 1661626. That's criminal conduct by the state in concert with the municipality. Public corruption is what is underway. This is P.O.C. 2500 South Archibald Avenue. That's impossible light activity. That's indeed. These are indeed P.O.C.
I have a 9 a.m. appointment to pick up my property from evidence. Erica Spencer.
Erica?
Right.
I'll let her know you're here.
Okay, yeah. What's your name is Audible Activity. You know exactly who I am in the specific environment as a gang stalking agency, but that's the laughable audible activity creation of a demon at the office, the front office area. Possible light activity inside of the building while a demon drives through the parking lot of the Ontario Police Department outside. Just like what happens inside of Starbucks. Of the people of the state come inside of the police station to share in criminal monitoring. That's also why it's being disbanded. That's literally what you're looking at the people of the state doing. Engineer light on the ceiling. My shadow is on the ceiling. Impossible light activity spreading across on the inside of the building. The fake sun is outside of the door, and even the positioning of a painter engaging in what is carpentry, its activity creation and engineer light, entirely demonic. This is the Nephilim, and this is inside of a wannabe police department. Walking in engineer light, representing communication devices, demons pacing. Because the police department is being used in this manner that also engages in kidnapping, it's going to be disbanded, never to be confused with what is actual law enforcement. This is a terrorist. It's 8:54 a.m. This is pathetic.
First name's Amy, last name's Moran, M-O-R-A. 9 o'clock.
It's actually very creepy what they're doing. These are demons pacing in and out. This is what they do with helicopter pace over me. This is what they do with commercial planes pace around me. They're doing it inside of the so-called police department while their shadows are appearing above their heads. These are demons. Whew. Yeah, this is a waste of money, a waste of resources, and it's also criminal. And it's literally the criminal activity inside of a... Oh, you talking to me? Okay. I didn't hear anybody say my name. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Thank you. That look like A. Lopez, Ontario Police, female. It's monitoring. All right, and they call me in there after they bring the people of the state to maintain presence around me, stalking, monitoring, surveilling inside of the adjacent room. They let him in first in order to keep presence in the path. Looks like I'm looking at Vera, A Vera. Is there gang stalking? Hold on. Gang stalking demons inside of the police department. Yeah, she's, excuse me, looks like she's an Asian female, long black ponytail, glasses. She's monitoring. This is the same stalking in the path. Audible activity. Focusing their attention on a piece of paper. They're pacing around. Just look at the OVITT family community. It's not different. It's the same P.O.C. But because it's a police department, oh, it's being disbanded. These cockroaches are being disbanded. Oh, yeah.
Backpack's right there, handy.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have a good day.
Oh, you might need my ID or something, right? Okay, hold on. Sure. I'm signing for return of my stuff, or? And what about, oh, and sleeping bag. Okay, that's fine. You need my ID? Okay. Sorry. Can I just give you the wallet? It's too hard for me to take it out. I don't. Oh, go ahead. If you can get it out, it hurts my finger.
Okay, just write it.
Thank you. Man. Can you unfold it as like? Well, I don't want to scratch this. Oh, there we go. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, good. You didn't damage that? Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That is D. Lopez and A. Mejia. Okay, so that's Mejia. That would likely be a Latina female, and D. Lopez, a Latina female. I'm capturing images of them, and they are engaged in monitoring through retrieval of my property at a facility, which is a police station. While they are in a position maintaining the elements of law for this gang stalking. As I'm retrieving my property, understanding of the law, this was theft of my property. All right, this is P.O.C. It is 9:01 a.m. Everything looks okay right now, but I will have to go through everything and confirm that, but have to be careful. Demons are sneaky. Let's see. My orange juice is still there. Yay.
License, will passport work or you?
Alrighty, here's the entity stalking by commercial plane, which the only reason why I noticed it is because they're sounding plane activity as though you would hear it. They're stalking me. This is where the fake sun is, the background. This is the entity that, again,
is putting Vivanco, Valencia, and Durham in federal prison. They committed kidnapping at the Ontario Town Square pursuant to state surveillance, and the sun is never going to be at what is, it's 9:16 a.m. The entity's keeping the fakes on while they're stalking at the same time at the Ontario Town Square, 9:24. 8:59 to 9:59 a.m. The entity is stalking me for an hour by flying over me by helicopter, where they're engaging in that pattern of conduct, and this is the entity that does so. That's the mentally ill. The mentally ill are indeed psychopathic, so they're more obsessed with targeting me than they are with understanding and recognizing the evidence that's proving that they're doing that, and you're going to prison for it. Stalking is the city of Ontario. This demon, this is an employee, license 1682516, is engaged in that. And they engage in, this is the Nephilim that are not concerned, and they should be, with what are physical consequences. Also, the entity that sacrificed itself, they engaged in what is black magic, death magic, and that spirit's going back to them. And not only that, they're going to be prosecuted. When you engage in terrorism with the government that's stalking you by helicopters, you go to federal prison for that. This is pacing while they're driving in opposite directions, doing so with light activity, doing so with the entity that uses helicopter. And this is the impunity, the criminal surveillance under Paul Leon's corrupt leadership, in office for over 20 years, engaging in surveillance. Okay, not the business of the people. And by the people, I don't mean the people of the state, the demons, but the people are supposed to be who the mayor is representing, and you're not doing that when you're keeping them under surveillance and when you're engaging in surveillance with the people of the state. All right, Paul Leon is being removed from office, and he is exposed as such while the municipality is engaged in surveillance, and they are exposed as the Nephilim. The fake sun is over here. I'm at 2500 South Archibald Avenue, where I'm at 3 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The entity is stalking me specifically while the fake sun remains over me, and this fake sun is going to remain over me as I go back toward Euclid Avenue, the OVITT Family Community Library. And this is what the entity is maintaining, and the Ontario Montclair School District Fair at the town square under the fake sun, and you're all engaging in terrorism. You're exchanging the Ontario Montclair School District activity creation with what is the demons of the Ontario Police Department stalking with planes and helicopters. This is P.O.C. It's 9:18 a.m. P.O.C. All right, targeting, threatening, stalking, engaged with the City of Ontario maintaining plane activity. Well, there's no planes taking off over the Ontario Police Department parking lot, over the Ontario Plaza parking lot. And there's also no sun that would, in a natural environment, be both here and through my living room window in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens, and then departing from that to be over me at the Ontario Town Square, where it's also present during the Route 66 and the Food Festival on Euclid Avenue at that same address, 224 North Euclid Avenue, where the entity is stalking by helicopters. And also, again, enraged, angry demons like the one employee 3833 stalked with impossible light while she drives off. The entity stalking with helicopter is an angry entity that can't control itself, and it's going to prison. It put itself in prison, by the way, because it's one thing for me to document and make the allegations. It's another for Satan to walk into the trap and prove that I was right about everything that I discerned, and then I went afterwards and prosecuted with tangible evidence. 6RNM224, it's also failed witchcraft. 6MRF370, that is a failed sacrifice. 7EQH023, 6Y10154, 1759684, 5RCB352. Let me break something down to you. The entire Ontario Police Department staff, everybody that collects a check working for that department, is engaged in terrorism while they're stalking me by helicopter right now. It's going to be disbanded. The entire agency is engaged in criminal surveillance. They're doing it at the headquarters of the cockroaches themselves. And understand, that's the entity that committed kidnap. That's directly correlated to what they just did the other day, lying about harassment, monitoring while lying about harassment, monitoring while engaging in what is search of my property and seizure of my person. That's a kidnapping and theft of property, not law enforcement that has any authority under the law. Even while they make tortious missteps, that wasn't tortious behavior, that was criminal behavior. They're being disbanded, and they did it on video, like psychopaths tend to do. Psychopaths that are triggered when they're caught. Psychopaths that have an enormous ego with regard to a demonic spirit. And they are also hostile because I see them in the spirit, and I'm letting you know what they're doing in the spirit and what they're doing physically, which is criminal conduct. That entire agency is illegitimate and prosecuted by what I just documented at the Ontario Police Department. And that's not the first time I documented it. License 5ZIN389 1486784. And the entire police department that is engaged in surveillance, guess who else goes to prison for kidnapping me with them? Any sheriff's department, In Ontario, it's the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department that's going to be prosecuted and disbanded for kidnapping. And it's also the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. There is a list of the specific terrorists that are intentionally and maliciously targeting pursuant to this system that is no longer a secret. And it's also exposed while the demons lack self-control and present evidence against that court and against that sheriff, Shannon Dykes, committing kidnapping together as an entity, and you're going to prison. They don't write a legitimate, lawful, authorized citation. They don't cite any law either correctly, nor any law that they have authority under. They're not engaged in any execution of duty of officers, as the law dictates. They're not engaged in that. And when you exercise authority pursuant to that criminal conduct, it's not converting to legitimate to you. And you also don't have any basis to claim ignorance. You're going to be prosecuted because the malice of that system is already established. I already surrounded you with evidence speaking to your demonic possession and your engagement in targeting me, i.e. a fake son over that courthouse, a fake son over that sheriff's department, gang stalking me on the streets, on the roads, and the highways, targeting me by helicopter under a fake son over me. You're already surrounded and you're going to prison. 7 ARX 629. Anybody entertaining this criminal conduct by this department. And they've already done it. They've already done it. And threatening me in the first place by even writing out a citation in the midst of a federal prosecution, a federal investigation. This is, understand what this is, because of my role, my identity, my status, while they're targeting me at the same time. This is the unlawful interference with the federal case. Who do you think you are, domestic terrorist? You un-American intruder, thinking you're going to murder somebody that's an American citizen in the face of the federal. You're going to prison and you're going to be committed because you are clearly out of your mind. Okay, 233-83R3, 5REW046, 8VAR132. This is exactly how it's going to be executed. 7PPB222, 9MWR846. 8DCC, oh, I read the one. 8DCC 322. 4ZAV322, engaging in surveillance on behalf of the entity, sitting in the vehicle. This is an African-American male license. 15966H1 is not the African-American male. I'm going to get this African-American male engaging in surveillance, and I'll show you the fake son that moves over me in the parking lot so that you're clear that he is indeed engaged in surveillance with the entity that's stalking by helicopter. Very unhelpful in a federal prosecution with regard to allegations of gang stalking. Okay, you'll see the fake son right over me while he is stalking in the parking lot with the entity that provides evidence to put such terrorists in federal prison. It is currently 9:24 a.m. and like I stated, we are not brothers and sisters and kin because of the color of our skin. That's what Satan wants you to believe as well. Okay, that ain't no brother of mine. That's a demon. Okay, just because you're African American, because you're black, because you have melanated skin, you are no kin to me, okay? You are children of the devil, all right? And you're engaged in a satanic conduct, and I'm exposing you for it, and I will prosecute you like somebody I never met on the street before ever in my life, okay? This is the entity that's engaged in gang stalking, and it is not about race. It's outside of any sort of demographic, outside of any sort of income bracket. It does not matter what they are doing or how they're doing it or when they're doing it or the ways in which they are doing it, meaning whether they're loud and cussing and angry or whether they're smiling and they're the most sweet, have the sweetest demeanor that you've ever seen. It's the same spirit. It's the Nephilim, and they are engaged in surveillance and they're monitoring. And American citizens are being murdered, and this is the prosecution of that system. License 8EQN505 is currently 9:25 a.m., and that's the government that is always providing evidence against the people of the state that are being prosecuted for gang stalking. This is P.O.C. 9HNX486, 9JDY947, stalking in the parking lot and just hopping out and going in while they are, as I walk toward the ARCO, 7M55821. And then they're all on surveillance cameras inside of ARCO prosecuting for criminal surveillance under the fake sun that's no longer reflecting off of the Ontario Police Department entrance. And it's also no longer in the middle of the parking lot where they're stalking me by planes and helicopters. It's over the ARCO where I stand. Okay, where they're all engaging in stalking as a population. The same city of Ontario, license 1682530, vehicle 4246. And this is a particularly thirsty one. He wants to go to federal prison. All right, if this is the same one that's stalking with light activity, doing so on video, and then documenting while the entity is obsessed with my vagina, monitoring me outside of the bathrooms that they know I typically use, Doing the same thing with regard to the gas station where I'm going to return to go get ice. All right, this is the knowledge when you're stalking someone and you're engaging in that. EH06P23. You want to go to federal prison, it would be the federal government's pleasure. It would be my pleasure. All right, this is P.O.C. The Nephilim are going to be removed as a corrupt municipality. This is pacing. You'll see that. This is the entity that's targeting with the Ontario Police, stalking you in a helicopter, terrorizing you. Doing so as I'm documenting at the Ontario Town Square every day, and doing so at the Ontario Police Department. Going inside and making a purchase is the prosecution of ARCO. Okay? That's the P.O.C. And this is a demon that's engaged in stalking. Paul Leon has demons on payroll engaging in surveillance. Okay? Not what they're putting on the internet about what the different departments of what the city of Ontario, no, they're engaged in surveillance. They're obsessing over my vagina. And because the mayor's engaged in that, he's being removed. And the demons are going to be prosecuted. You're listening to, this is the painter inside of the police department. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. All right, maintaining activity inside of the ARCO. That's what they're doing inside of the police department. Maintaining the carpenter inside. This is the entity that's engaged in activity creation, monitoring. Hello. I have a cup. How much for a cup of ice with my own cup?
50 cents or 54 cents.
Okay. 54 cents.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Let me get, okay, thank you. I'm going to buy that.
Do you want me to read that up for you right now?
Yes. Let me just get my wallet out. Oh, let me do it this way. Or, I'm sorry. Thank you. All right, this is the ARCO at 2446 South Archibald Avenue in Ontario, California, 91761. The screwdriver, the demon engaging in a repair, this is the entity, the Nephilim, that maintain activity inside of the venue. This is what they're doing inside of the police department. Remember, the fake sun's over the police department. Engineer lights inside of the police department while they have a carpenter and the demons walking in of a police department that's gang stalking. That's what they're, so you can look at that ongoing pattern. This is the P.O.C. This is what they're doing outside. Construction, the city of Ontario, engaging in landscape, they're monitoring. And where's the fake sun? Over me, outside, while they're monitoring on the roads and the highways. This is the unintelligent system, and I'm showing you venue to venue to venue, you'll see the same pattern. P.O.C. It's 9:30 a.m. This is ARCO monitoring. And they are monitoring with the Ontario Police Department that is stalking by helicopter as well. P.O.C. It's 9:30 a.m. All right, EH06P23, getting in a touch as a sex offender before that demon drives off, engaged in surveillance the entire time I'm inside of the ARCO. Monitoring with the rest of these demons whose license plates I'm going to recite right now. Gang stalking at the gas stalls, number 9, number 5, number 7, number 4, number 1, and number 2. License plate. I think it's hilarious when the demons are stalking with no license plate, driving the most raggediest bucket. Engaged in obstruction of justice with them is license 9ART228, however. All right, and this is another black-faced demon, gang stalking under a fake sun with corrupt law enforcement agency, by the way. All right, and then they like to claim that Black Lives Matter. They're engaged in monitoring you through those that are claiming to organize under the theme of Black Lives Matter. Black people are demons that are gang stalking in California. There you go. This is a demon that's just sitting at in position. Doing so in position at the gas stall monitoring. With the rest of the demons with no license plate, again, under the deceptive guise that, oh, you're protected because you can't read my license plate. 8JAT073 is sharing and obstruction. All right, license 9JMV890, sharing and criminal obstruction. License 4Z85331, sharing and obstruction. License 8CO2503. These are demons sharing and obstruction of justice. and so is the Ontario Police that's being disbanded, and so is license plate. They gang stalk together. 6 MOZ 667. They monitor my vagina together. They stalk me together. They threaten to terrorize while the demons are using planes and helicopters. They do that together. EF96V09, paper plate, sharing and criminal obstruction. Okay? So does UPS. License plate 81193D3. P.O.C. There's no sun that's going to be outside of 1749 South Euclid Avenue like I documented yesterday. 7JR953 is identified as a demon who is engaged in criminal conduct provable to a scientific degree to be stalking and furtherance of the government's purpose to commit murder as a corrupt entity in that environment where you are not supposed to readily identify on the surface that an American citizen is being targeted in order that that targeted individual, who is in fact a real status pursuant to criminal surveillance that the government also has not exposed to the American public, that they are mentally ill or something when they make an assertion that strangers, for example, because this is how the unsophisticated target individual would say strangers are stalking me, and they're not making it up. It's the Nephilim. It's the Nephilim that are stalking them. License plate 90508B3. This is P.O.C. 1621023. That's the Nephilim calling itself the City of Ontario. P.O.C. 1302469, California exempt. 89751E3, that's a demon of the Ontario Police and a California exempt plate. 8UEA259, this is P.O.C. Okay, who conjured up that idea to defame someone who is in fact being targeted and targeting them in ways that they can't even understand, let alone prove through a population of people that you have some sort of impulse that they are targeting you, but then at the same time, you know in your mind, because you're not actually crazy, that these are strangers, so why would they be stalking me? Why would they be stalking me? But they are. They're not only stalking me, they're they're harassing me. The entities engaged in, this is the Nephilim that are spiritually attacking you. 25059L2, they're spiritually attacking your mind, and they're also attacking you personally, 8DTB166, in order to kidnap and murder you. That's the reason for them doing it in the physical, and they're spiritually attacking you in ways in which you're ignorant about. 9UAX721, 9JMV890. And it is terrorism in the United States. And Taco Bell is engaged in it, Starbucks is engaged in it, AM/PM ARCO is engaged in it, the police departments in the state of California are engaged in it, the sheriff's departments in the state of California are engaged in it, the courthouses, and I said the California Supreme Court, I said exactly what I said, every appellate level court, they're engaged in it, every company in every neighborhood is engaged in it. This is the Nephilim, and they are here, and that's how they target you in ways in which you're ignorant about. That spiritual attack speaking to confusing you. Wait, I don't know them, but they're stalking me, and it's a very real dual reality. They are strangers, but they're actually not. These are demons, and they know all about you. They know about your sex life. They know about your hygiene. They know about your dating, your personal life, where you congregate. If you go to church, they know about what you believe. They know about what bothers you. They know what scares you. They sit around studying you, and they're demons doing that. And they're demons engaging in criminal conduct for which you prosecute the vessel that's engaging in what is a satanic means of targeting. That is Starbucks that's engaged in spiritually attacking you. Essentially, Starbucks is a gang stalker. 7GVA085. That's why the fake sun is over me at the same time that the Ontario Police Department are gang stalking me at 2500 South Archibald when it's supposed to be over me through the window facing east at 507 Good Avenue. That's how that you know that Starbucks is a gang stalker. This is the pattern of conduct. AWUM669, 7SHM720, 9PAD909. Another homosexual. License 8ZFP346, 7LBU253, PL794, handicap. 5EQY940. 4R A7957. Tony Garcia and Sons Trucking Company, California 55632, and the license plate is 90508B3. They're gang stalking. Alrighty, every business, every function of every level of government, and every function of government is engaging in this system of surveillance in California. And you need to understand that it's a spiritual attack on you, one that you're not supposed to understand, and that is by design, because when you are spiritually bullied, when you are spiritually inundated, if you will, with chaos, this is how they're seeking to put demons on you, demons that you're also ignorant about. All right, this is also speaking to how imperative it is to know Christ Jesus as your Lord and Savior, because He is giving you spiritual discernment. He is giving you also protection. When you are filled with the Holy Spirit, okay, you're talking about what is spiritual protection, and also the identity to see that. And by see, I mean recognize, identify, have knowledge that defies what you should know naturally, okay? Now that's based on your faith walk with Christ Jesus, and I can't give that to you. No one else can give that to you, and no tarot card reading is going to give that to you. That's a practice of sorcery. Christ Jesus specifically said not to engage in what is witchcraft. You're getting into information, you're getting into secrets, you're getting into what is dangerous to you, what is dangerous to us as human beings. That's what's wrong with these demons now. Okay? But I just want to be clear, everybody makes their own decisions, everybody legitimizes what they've engaged, what they choose to do. But Scripture, which is the authority, which is what is God's will, and it does not change, it doesn't vacillate. He does not change, and neither does His word. And He has stated what it is for our protection not to engage in. Whether you call yourself engaging in it for a good purpose or not, I want to be clear with regard to God's stance. It doesn't exist. He says not to, and so you do not. You don't have to pick up one tarot card reader. If God has called you to be a prophet, He will give you the message. And you will be known to be one that is actually speaking on behalf of Christ Jesus. You don't pick up any cards. You don't engage in messing with those spirits that are a threat to you in ways in which you do not know, you're not aware of. You have no idea actually what you are messing with and what you are permitting into your vessel. There's a reason why He said not to do it. And that's what's wrong with these demons. They're engaged in and they are plagued with what are demonic spirits, and they seek to afflict other people with those same spirits. And a lot of it is accomplished through sacrificing things such as gang stalking. Okay? Gang stalking is a spiritual attack. The entity tried to sacrifice me, and it's not going to happen. I am spiritually impenetrable, in other words, as a Christ follower. And I'm not saying I have some sort of spirit. I walk with Christ Jesus as my Lord and Savior. I have His Holy Spirit inside of me. I believe that 100% of His scripture is true, and I will never bow down to any other false god, which is anyone other than Christ Jesus alone, period. That is who my salvation is in. There is no other god beside Him. That's what I believe. That's how I stand. That's my authority. That's the source of my protection and my covering. Okay, so I want to be very clear on that. It is not in any tarot card. And that is a demonic spirit. I'm not going to mince words with you. You are messing with spirits who also are not telling 100% of the truth. And I also want to be clear, the demons, Satan himself is able to manipulate that information, which is not coming from the Holy Spirit. There's a lot of reasons why, but God doesn't have to tell you why. You either obey or you do not obey, period. You either obey or you don't obey. But it is for your protection. It's for your protection, and spiritual warfare is going to become more intensified because Satan is becoming more and more desperate. And so you are exposing yourself to harm in the spiritual realm, which affects your mind, it affects your life. It's going to impact you with regard to what is nothing other than like any other sin. But it is sin which God has said at the beginning, at the outset, do not engage in that. And those who are His children do not practice that. They don't engage in that. Okay? And that's just the reality. If you are called to, if He has made you one of His messengers, you don't pick up any tarot card. That is something that His prophets are very, very clearly capable of speaking on His behalf. And those who are lying on His name, I want to be clear, they reap death on their heads. That's going to handle itself. But if you are a prophet of God, you don't pick up any tarot card. You're not engaging in any sorcery. I just want to be clear, that's what the wicked do. That's what the wicked rely on, and that is not a messenger of Christ Jesus, okay? It is currently 9:45 a.m. My point is that gang stalking is what is spiritually attacking, and this is the system of the Nephilim who fill a whole population. I'm prosecuting the United States government that's targeting me through the state of California. State of California is the state level. The city of Ontario is the local level, if you will, when you're prosecuting the government that's keeping you under surveillance. But this is speaking to a whole population. That's getting to numerosity. That's getting to that's getting to the Nephilim who are here, and they are fully here. They're here. They are here. And they're no longer here in secret. And so do not merely focus on the carnal with regard to, they're being mean and they're harassing and they kidnapped me. They did. But it's spiritual. These are demons, and they're engaging what is an ongoing spiritual attack, which they lost. They tried to sacrifice me. There's a penalty for that. Because Satan intends to collect on those contracts that they made. And they did it to somebody. You cannot sacrifice me as a Christ follower. You can't sacrifice me. All right, so I just want to be clear. This is an ongoing campaign. This is an ongoing campaign, a running commercial with regard to the harms inherent to walking in submission to Satan, being seduced by the ways of the world versus walking in the protection in this dark, wicked world of Christ Jesus, who alone. There is no other God beside him. There is no protection. There is no other name under heaven and in earth and under the earth by which you can be saved. There is no other name. There is no other name. So I'm not going to mince words with that. It is exactly that. That's exactly why I'm alive and breathing right now with 100% of a pristine mindset when Satan engaged in what is attacking me, and it is supernatural that I'm walking out unharmed, okay? And not just unharmed, I'm skipping with joy. That is the Lord God himself. That's supernatural, and that's not what the demons calculated. And understand that it is the exception. It is the exception, and I'm aware of that. And I want to be clear, it is in Christ Jesus alone. And with that, I'm also going to let you know what Christ Jesus has said. And it is relevant to this gang stalking system, where demons are practicing witchcraft. They're engaged in what is practicing tarot and voodoo and black magic. And people like to make some sort of contrast. Oh, well, this is white magic, and it's to help people. And you can go to Christ Jesus himself. The Word of God is living. It is powerful and effective. It is alive. Meaning there is spiritual power as you read it and as you walk in obedience to it. That is spiritual power. In prayer, that is spiritual power. As you learn and walk in obedience and grow and mature in Christ, that is spiritual power and authority. It is not in a tarot card reading. It's not in some white magic. There's no this white witch. All these categories are not in Scripture. God has said what he has said. He said what he said. All right, it is currently 9:48 a.m. All right, I'm not preaching. I'm done. I'll digress here. This is P.O.C. All right, gang stalking at the intersection of Archibald and Riverside Drive at 9:55, where there's no sun over the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library now, or in 5 minutes from now, or in 5 minutes after from now. 9JOX899, as you're understanding the behavioral pattern, is stalking with light in the path while keeping their vehicle. Already, first of all, they're stalking by being in their vehicle relative to where I'm at. And their knowledge in that specific stalking tactic is proven by the fake sun that is supposed to be in a totally different location, which is not mutually remaining all over the place like the sky. This is the entity that is stalking with the fake sun, and so is this third party 9JOX899. Doing so while keeping their vehicle in reverse, which is a method of stalking with light activity. Very demonic, and it's the evidence that's going to be used to diagnose the demon-possessed, the Nephilim, who are obsessed psychopaths, monitoring things like my vagina, monitoring with noise, monitoring with light, monitoring as a population in furtherance of murder, innocent people that they don't even have a relationship with. Not that it's okay if you know them personally in one way or another, but maliciously doing so while living a whole life. That's a whole fake show. This is how you're going to prosecute the people who are demon possessed engaging in that conduct. Okay, FedEx is a corrupt business engaging in the same. Coming toward, it is 9:56 a.m. They're engaging in surveillance with the demon that's sitting with their vehicle in reverse, license 65212Z1. All right, this is again, the turn signal is light activity. FedEx is touching with impossible light activity. That's a sex offender engaging in a sexual assault and battery as a company and doing so as an entity. And I'll show you that fake sun where FedEx is committing the sex offense while FedEx commits that sex offense with knowledge that, oh, you're engaging in stalking me, you're still coming toward me, you're stalking me, and now you come toward me touching me as a sex offender, and that predator does so and continues, and they do it as in the shoes of the state. That's the government that's going to be prosecuted. That's FedEx that's going to be prosecuted. That's Walgreens that's going to be prosecuted. That's the entity, okay? This is P.O.C. 9CRV737, 4LKZ099, 9RJK345, 17JHAN. P.O.C. Yeah, this is the entity that's engaged in very demented behavior. Homosexuals, stalking with light, molesting, touching together, doing so. And let me show you the fake sun that's over the entrance of the Walgreens. There you go. That beeping noise is audible noise, audible activity. Let me show you the fake sign. Try to get an angle so you can see it. Here you go. This is an entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct together. Yeah. The entity is engaged 5MKB6768, and Walgreens is stalking. Walking into you have a car full of homosexuals, black-faced demons that are engaged in monitoring, touching with impossible light. And the entity is doing this again at 7. You can see the fake sun reflecting off of the windshield of the vehicle. Those are demons, okay? Those are no sisters of mine. Literally, some big bone, cottonhead homosexuals that are obsessing over me and obsessing over my vagina just as much as FedEx is, just as much as the City of Ontario is, just as much as the Ontario Police Department is. The entity is engaged in what is massive surveillance, and they're doing so under the fake sun. It's 9:58 a.m. PL 794 handicap. They're actually handicapped not based on what the license plate status recognized. They're handicapped because of the mental illness of being a demon, the Nephilim, who are demented, as the demented pattern of conduct proves. 9MBM 925, 9UDP 497. 8UGH 709, and you have a bunch of demons. This is a big, like another big linebacker that's stalking with light, keeping her foot on the brakes with the reverse lights on, and doing so from 9:55 till 9:58 a.m., monitoring me and doing so. And as I walk to the front, that's when that demon then continues reversing, and the people of the state begin walking in and out of the store. Drives after FedEx molest with impossible light. This is all under a fake sun. That's not over the entrance of 215 East C Street. That's the OVITT Family Community Library, which is also how you know it is very specific and detailed, and is tailored to a specific person that is indeed being targeted, and they are the Nephilim. And this is all state action. Okay, what the entity is targeting me by helicopter at the Ontario Town Square and at the OVITT Family Community Library, at the Economy Inn at 2301 South Euclid Avenue, all the places that I'm documenting at around the same time, and the fake sun is over me. And the entity is engaging in this conduct where that is going to prosecute, again, the whole entity, including the Ontario Police Department. Okay, this is P.O.C. It's currently 10 a.m. So let me go ahead and get that. It is currently 10 a.m. right now. This is the fake sun that is over me at the intersection of Archibald and Riverside Drive. This is the same intersection where I was at this morning, where employee number 3833 commits what is a federal offense pursuant to criminal monitoring as a mentally ill psychopath, proven through criminal activity, which is demonic. Stalking with impossible light, like you see here, that is present in the shade underneath the car, inexplicable but present there. That's relevant to the demons who are stalking in that environment, okay? Moving under the fake sun, which is over me, and it's not over 215 East C Street in Ontario, California, where you're looking at the Nephilim holding hands of children, maintaining presence all around, going into the bathroom, maintaining surveillance, going into the children's area, going into the computer rooms, going into the laboratory, going at the circulation desk, maintaining presence in the all areas of that not the airport, but the OVITT Family Community Library, to keep me under surveillance, where the sun that's over the entrance is going to create this light activity underneath the car in the shade. Neither does sunlight manifest out of nowhere in the shade. It's underneath the object of the vehicle, and it's at the intersection of Archibald and Riverside where this Walgreens is located, and I will publish the specific address. And this is where the fake sun is over me, where I got off the bus at 7:55 a.m. This is after being over me, where the demons are stalking by helicopter at 2500 South Archibald, the Ontario Police Department. Okay? This is where you're exposing mental illness. This is where you're exposing actual, true homosexuality, the demon-possessed females that are obsessed over me, that want to consume my bodily fluids, thinking that they're going to swap with me, which is demonic, and it is impossible to happen when you are a Christ follower. These are the demons that are conspiring murder while they're gang stalking. This is the Nephilim. This is the exposure of the demon-possessed that are engaged in criminal conduct. It's criminal surveillance by the state of California, the United States government. That's what's relevant to a fake sun necessarily, because this is not over 215 East C Street at the same time. Neither would the sun that remains at 215 East C Street when I'm at that address, that's still there after 6 p.m. when I exit that same entrance, is it ever going to be over this Walgreens. Neither is sunlight ever going to manifest in the shade underneath a car when you are aware of the fact that the condition of those that are around you and the criminal conduct they're engaging in. They're stalking. FedEx is stalking. Walgreens is stalking. O'Reilly's is stalking. That's the pattern of conduct. That entire plaza, and that's going to be a massive federal RICO case in California. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:02 a.m. All right, capturing video, the entity engaged in that P.O.C. I will publish that on the internet, and you've seen every day, day in and day out, the entity stalking with a fake sun over the OVITT Family Community Library as I walk in, and that's where the entity committed what is kidnapping on June 16, 2022. And when was that? Oh, it was approximately 26 minutes from now. Because at 10:29 a.m. the entity has the fake sun over that entrance, and that's the same agency that's being disbanded for kidnapping. License plate 8AAN308 5A17033 7MBS 616. It's to a scientific degree. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. Criminal monitoring in furtherance of murder, okay? The entities engage in this with the intent to not only defame my character so that you would not listen to the truth that I'm speaking to you about not only what I'm subject to, but what American citizens are subject to, about what the government is engaging in this country, doing so under the guise of, under the illusion of having a constitution, therefore there's no surveillance underway, and that mentally ill people are the only ones that claim that they're being targeted by people that they don't even know, and the entities also seeking to steal my money, steal my wealth, and steal my property, knowing exactly who I am. Going to the extent to keep a whole environment over me while the Nephilim know exactly who I am. Going to the extent to have every level of government stalking and monitoring me my entire life because they know exactly who I am. And they're very fearful of this being exposed. And they're still sitting on my money. They're still sitting on my property. And that's relevant to how many years demons like Fields are going to federal prison because they're not getting out. Okay? You're not getting out. The entity has been engaged in what is keeping me living in a bubble, kidnapping me, just like I documented yesterday. And kidnapping is not going to be made a lesser offense because you're kidnapped and released later that day. And no. When the entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct, the entity is engaged in what is kidnapping you for as long as they want. I've been kidnapped for up to 6 months at a time. And that's because I held up signs. If I didn't even document at all and hold up any signs, which the entity engaged in longer and longer kidnappings each time that I held up signs inside of the gang stalking facilities of Shannon Dykes to be disbanded. The entity is not going to be based on, well, they were kidnapped for XYZ hours and they were released the same day. No, you're being disbanded because of the unlawful threat, the inhumanity of kidnapping to monitor someone, which is in violation of existing laws that govern these the facilities of West Valley and Shannon Dykes and San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. It's governed by federal law. Title 15 in the Prison Rape Elimination Act. Gang stalking is directly in conflict, in violation of those laws. And they're doing so pursuant to what is obstruction of justice because they know who I am. And the entity is engaged in what is failed witchcraft. These are demons that are actually trying to spiritually attack me, and it's unsuccessful, while they are in the physical being documented and prosecuted for criminal conduct that I have also proven. It's both happening at the same time, and they're also engaging in what is sacrificing themselves. They've sacrificed themselves. And with regard to here on earth, they've sacrificed their liberty because they're going to prison. They're going to prison, federal prison. License plate, let me get this license plate, 64FD745, 6HFD745, 9PPC 398, 8ZAF733, every single last one of them stalking with impossible light across each other's vehicles, just like I showed on video. It's a supernatural act, has nothing to do with the fake sun. Because the fake sun isn't aiming any light underneath the vehicle that's in the parking lot in the shade. Those are demons, okay? Like I stated before. The demon-possessed, the Nephilim, they're engaged in supernatural conduct right in front of you. The engineer light, okay? The entity is engaged in this, and they're doing so pursuant to what is monitoring. Monitoring also on your devices. Monitoring on the internet. Monitoring your genitalia. Monitoring you at home. Monitoring you when you're en route anywhere, in vehicles, on planes. Monitoring you when you are out in public, where that ongoing monitoring system is underway by demons that surround you, and they are the Nephilim. And while I've shown you what the entity is doing, it's relevant to what is a prosecution, because you're going to prosecute for stalking via light. You're going to prosecute for stalking via amplified audible activity. You're going to prosecute for stalking as a whole mentally ill population, the Nephilim, and it's domestic terrorism. All right, that's P.O.C. 8VHW728. And this is at Riverside Drive and Archibald Avenue. And there's no sun over the entrance of OVITT Family Community Library. And that's not the sun in the first place. And that's why Sean Thrasher's going to prison. All right, it's currently 10:07 a.m. This is P.O.C. RIVRKID, monitoring with the City of Ontario, a demon driving a white utility vehicle that has no logo, no Ontario Police, no signia on it indicating law enforcement, sounding sirens, however, engaged in the same pattern of conduct. Remember, you're prosecuting the government while they're doing so under the guise of being police or a fire department or an ambulance. The entity that's engaging in the same elements of monitoring is doing so while they're just concealing the identity of that actor. It's the same demonic elements of audible noise, light activity, and relevant positioning, and RIVRKID is monitoring with them. It's 10:33 a.m. where they're engaging in that. With regard to monitoring me under a fake sun, it's at the same intersection, Riverside and Archibald Avenue, P.O.C. All right, it is 11:02. Just want to document at the intersection since approximately 9:55 a.m. and no bus, Route 87, has arrived at the bus stop. So I want to document that. This is the entity that is targeting in the same way that the fake sun remaining over me on the bus through the window of those buses is targeting. So is OMNITRANS targeting when no bus arrives at the bus stop pursuant to its schedule and pursuant to its route. This is, again, over an hour. It's 11:03 a.m. arriving at this intersection, documenting the fake sun and doing so at approximately 9:55 a.m. This is P.O.C. It's 11:03 a.m. at Archibald and Riverside. That's Route 87. No bus arriving. All right, 11:20 a.m. You'll see the City of Ontario monitoring with OMNITRANS, stalking in the path. They're stalking me while I'm aboard OMNITRANS, and the entity engaging in what is maintaining plane activity again while on that was Mission Boulevard, I believe, and repeating that which I document, which is evidence of targeting. Takeoffs from the airport are not going to be heard on the bus on Mission. The entity is engaging in what is stalking with amplified plane activity. That is the formula, and they're doing so as I document, repeating ongoing documented acts of the pattern of conduct. And the City of Ontario is captured in the path, creating light activity, which is what they were doing with employee number 3833 while she was driving toward the same intersection where the fake sun is over me as I'm documenting at 11 o'clock in the morning when I got off at 7:55 a.m. at the same intersection. The entity is stalking with planes as the method of audible noise while OMNITRANS is monitoring on the roads and the highways. This is OMNITRANS engaging in surveillance with the same City of Ontario, monitoring me at the Ontario Police Department while the fake sun is remaining visible through the window of the OMNITRANS bus where the entity is sounding plane activity. It is indeed the P.O.C. And that's the entity that's maintaining that environment while engaging in that P.O.C. together. Okay. It is, by the way, 11:23 a.m. The City of Ontario engaged in the same thing with like I stated with the previous employee when I was on the same route this morning, and what they did was they had the tractor trailer driving on the street, and that's light activity on the top of that tractor trailer. So the City of Ontario is engaging in the same thing using a vehicle identified as a resource of the municipality, and the vehicle is a means of light activity, driving in traffic, stalking in the path on the roads and the highways, monitoring. Okay, P.O.C. It's 11:23 a.m. License 529R2, 529RZ. That's a handicap, and they're also handicapped because that's a demon-possessed psychopath who's touching me with impossible light while stalking on the roads and the highways at 11:24 a.m. And while the fake sun's on the driver's side of their vehicle stalking on this street, the entity is touching me on the bus with impossible light activity. The same pattern of conduct you've seen inside of Starbucks when they're driving on Euclid Avenue, and impossible light is swimming all inside of the Starbucks, which is not the product of sunlight reflecting off of the passenger side of your car while you're driving north and south on the street under the supposed sun. This is the entity that's engaged in psychopathic behavior. While they know exactly who I am and where I'm at, and also what it is that I'm doing, which is documenting. It's 11:24 a.m. This is P.O.C. This is criminal conduct of the state. There's also criminal conduct that you're going to prosecute OMNITRANS, a state actor, for. Sponsoring and engaging in and sharing and maintaining psychological torture, maintaining the perpetual sex offense, maintaining monitoring, facilitating it. P.O.C.
Sunday Street.
Capturing images driving north of Euclid Avenue toward the location where the sun's already supposed to be over the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library. Recall my documentation while I'm inside of the OVITT Family Community Library yesterday, and I show you the fake sun while I'm at the back of that library, and engineer light touching on the inside of that, on the floor inside of the back of that library, which is impossible light activity. But also, as I go outside of the entrance moments later, the fake sun is over the entrance of that library. And that is mutually exclusive placement. But yet on another day, when I go to do something different, that's where that fake sun is proven to be targeting a very specific person, and that is myself, in conformity to a pattern of conduct, where the entity is indeed keeping a fake sun over me, which is not over the OVITT Family Community Library. All right, this is P.O.C. Alrighty, if you'll recall my getting off of Route 83 yesterday, and the fake sun departs from the OMNITRANS bus route, who have the uncanny ability to maintain the whole sun through the window of those vehicles, no matter what route it is, because that was Route 83, while I got off of the northbound Route 83 in the morning, and that was on what is HOLT Boulevard, where the fake sun is parked. I'm on Route 83, where you're seeing the entity stalking by plane, surrounded with light activity, OMNITRANS vehicle 1545819, a demon operating that vehicle. Light activity are the demons engaging in the P.O.C, not disrepair or whatever guise under which the entity is engaging in the same exact pattern of conduct. Under the fake sun, that's never over the B&G Plaza, except for when I'm at the B&G Plaza, because the homosexuals that are engaged in monitoring my vagina at OVITT Family Community Library are under a fake sun that is not over 215 E.C. Street, while it's over the B&G Plaza, 410 East Holt Boulevard, where I am right now at 11:30 a.m., which is again deviating from it being over me while I'm on OMNITRANS Route 83 yesterday morning, and I documented where that went. So you're looking at the two demons, one wearing the hard hat, the other one wearing the gray shirt, using the vehicle, the entity that's gang stalking, license 08266Y3. These are demons engaging in surveillance, and they're doing so pursuant to knowledge of my vagina, knowledge of my person, knowledge of my documentation. That is evidence of a federal nature, where they're engaging in that criminal system together, and the outright departure, the absolute asininity of having the fake sun as I'm punctuating what is stalking as this entity, and all the businesses sharing in that, is the prosecution of the state of California. Okay? That is, again, Griffith Company that's going to lose its licensure. These are demons calling themselves contractors. These are demons engaging in criminal surveillance, calling themselves engaged in what is the industry of contracting, whatever these demons call themselves doing. They're engaged in the criminal misuse of a license, and doing so, and Griffith is going to lose that license. And this is the evidence regarding how all companies are going to be prosecuted under federal law that are sharing in criminal surveillance, proven while the demons of the Ontario International Airport flying make a U-turn in perfect alignment with where I'm standing on the sidewalk, where you see the fake sun over the B&G Plaza, not over the OVITT Family Community Library, and where psychopaths who are mentally ill just look to the left and right while you catch them in the middle of the crime. Okay? Because that's all that you can do. The entities engaging in the P.O.C, I want you to see that logo, because I'm going to prosecute to the nth degree that logo. Griffith Company is a demon-possessed, gang-stalking, corrupt actor. It's the entity. It's a third party, and they're an enemy of the United States. And so this is what I want to state also. When you're prosecuting the companies, enemies of the United States don't maintain any rights to maintain a business. All right, so you're outside of any constitutional rights. So it's not just going to be, I have spoken to what is a civil prosecution, but these companies actually have no expectation to further exist upon criminal monitoring as and being exposed as an enemy of the United States, engaging in surveillance and furtherance of murder of American citizens with a corrupt government. Okay, engaging in surveillance with that government, engaging in surveillance with those outside of this country as well. 9GIV 787 KL111 handicap, that's anthesis, gang stalking at the library under a fake sun. License plate 7FLF279, okay? And these demons, in their minds, they're inferior. They are literally inferior while they engage in this pattern of conduct under the obvious guise of what is it is absurd. It is absurdly idiotic what the entity commits, and I had to just go about and show you how stupid it is, and I describe it in those terms because that's exactly what it is. It's stupid, and then it's so stupid they just look to the left. You can see the fake sun. You'll see the demon of flying a Southwest Airlines plane. You'll see the engineer light, my shadow appearing on the bus and appearing in engineer light because sunlight's not reflecting, creating the shape of the window on the sidewalk. You'll see all this assassinity, and the demons just look to the left like, that's all that Satan can do. Griffith Company, again, license 08266Y3. This is an entity that's engaging in criminal surveillance, and this is the loss of that licensure, and this is going to be a lesson to every corrupt company that's engaging in surveillance, and it includes, I want to be clear, medical licensure. You got your license, your bar license to practice law. If you're engaged in surveillance, which every attorney in California is, guess what? While you're engaged in that criminal facility, then every courthouse is gang stalking. Guess what the public defender's office is filled with? Guess what the district attorney's office is filled with? Guess who engaged in entertaining any fictitious prosecution with my name on it? And you call yourself a DA, you're going to be a defendant, okay? And you're losing that bar license. You're engaged in what is terrorism and criminal activity, and your knowledge and malicious engagement in that is already established. Okay? The entities engaged in this pattern of conduct, and you're doing so pursuant to what is public corruption. And the idiots are punctuating that prosecution and proving your guilt while they're stalking me all over the place in planes and helicopters around your courthouse, around your law office, around your neighborhood, where the sun would never be present, and I'm getting that same ongoing public nuisance following me everywhere in planes and helicopters. And it is me, because that's not the sun, and that fake sun remains over me. I just want you to be prepared, because you're not only going to be prosecuted and identified, I'm taking what you used to try to prosecute me, to try to sacrifice me. I'm taking it. And by I mean the federal government's going to prosecute, and whatever you use, you lose. Okay? It is currently 11:34 a.m. The fake sun is at 410 East Holt as I get off the bus, and that bus drives away, and guess what happens to that fake sun? It's not over the OVITT Family Community Library, and it's also remaining over me. A courthouse that's engaged in what is gang stalking you is a courthouse that does not have jurisdiction under the law. That's a courthouse that's engaged in public corruption, and that's a courthouse that engages in any kidnapping. And all I'm doing is giving voice to what other people have already suffered. All right, any kidnapping courthouse, that it is worthy to be removed, and that's exactly what Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. That's what I said on the steps of that courthouse when I documented it. I said it. And the entities engaged in this P.O.C. with the Ontario Police Department, everybody sharing in those kidnappings. That's exactly what I said. The police to the court, the police to the sheriff to the court. That's what I said, and that's exactly what I meant. And the entity engaged in multiple kidnappings. Doing so with demons that think that they can make up anything, and that you're going to wear a badge and come and certify a lie, and then engage in what is kidnapping, and then you're going to certify that by the sheriff, and you're going to stamp and approve that and call that an adjudication in a court. Oh, you are sadly mistaken. I'm going to prosecute you. I'm going to prosecute you. I am going to prosecute you. It is currently 11:36 a.m. This is P.O.C. The fake sun following, not already present. Nor would the sun still be present when I'm at the OVITT Family Community Library at 7 in the morning. But it's following to the OVITT Family Community Library, which by definition, by fact, which science is on my side, it's proof of what is an unnatural environment where surveillance is underway. Okay, because that's relevant to what I have exposed as targeting the environment that is supernatural. P.O.C. Okay, it's 11:37. I just want to give a note. The entity is very much trembling and fearful of the idea that I go to another venue, like in another city. So that's also relevant regarding what is maintaining also nothing other than the P.O.C, but the bus with the hazard lights on, monitoring, doing so as I get off of Route 87. Having purchased a bus pass, the entity is very fearful of me going to another city. I guess what? I already did that. And I don't have to do it again. You're going to be prosecuted, City of Fontana, City of Chino, City of Los Angeles, et cetera, et cetera. The state is already prosecuted. But not only that, the entity is very much fearful. Okay, they're very apprehensive. What is she going to do? Is she about to get on the bus and go to another? Understand they're concerned with that as well, while a demon does a U-turn in the middle illegally. Monitoring 8AWBO17, 8UUE417, gang stalking outside of the state facilitating venue of the Ontario City Hall, where Paul Leon is going to be publicly removed from office, and why is going to be public knowledge as well. 8XRA867, in fact, it already is, but it's going to be even louder. P.O.C., these are demons. This is the Nephilim. The Nephilim fill the Ontario City Hall, and they're going to be publicly removed. License 1690340, a demon driving in a City of Ontario vehicle, another one, stalking with the possible light. Just wanted to point that out. The demons are engaged. They're very much fearful that I might go to Fontana or I might go. This is why you're also looking at the fake sun that's covered up early in the morning. This is, again, if you're familiar with Scripture, how Scripture, the truth, the spiritual truth regarding those who know Christ Jesus as their Lord and Savior, who follow Christ, you are the head and not the tail. All right, this entity is inferior in every single regard. Even the pathetic, it's not even a tactic, the pathetic documented act of what is under no circumstances changing how the prosecution, which is straightforward, covering it up early in the morning doesn't remove it from being already documented there over me in the morning, and still there over me in the afternoon, and still there over me in the evening, and all the harassment that I'm documenting in that supernatural environment. Amongst those that are not reasonably nor actually ignorant about that environment where they're sharing in the pattern of conduct, which is committed in furtherance of murder, very serious conduct, very serious. This is P.O.C. But that's what I just want to point that out. They're also concerned about that. So you have a bus that's in quote-unquote disrepair. That's what you're assuming because they're sitting there not driving off with the hazard lights on, light activity under the fake sun that followed me to that bus stop, and it's supposed to be sitting over the library. It's not. It's going to be as I approach that entrance, which is not the natural environment, and it's not shared by the demon operating the OMNITRANS bus where the sun is not remaining in the window of that bus as I'm walking up to the entrance. That's not the sun in the natural environment, and that is not everybody's experience as I document proof that I'm being targeted by demons at that, and they are the Nephilim. So here's some more context. The Nephilim are trying to push a false god in order that you would bust open the gates of hell, where they're headed out here preaching about what is Jehovah's Witnesses and their demons under the fake sun. So you need to know that the Nephilim are preaching this false set of beliefs where they don't even know God, by the way. Nor can they tell you about God, nor are they an appropriate representation of God, or to speak even on his name. And this religion, this false religion, is speaking to what is something that you do not give into, because they're liars. And they are not actually followers of the true living God, Christ Jesus himself. And it's also relevant that those that are out here handing out pamphlets regarding God, and God, his name is Christ Jesus, and they don't even actually believe in him. They're also out here engaging in what is satanic behavior while doing so. So I'm going to go ahead and do a zoom up on that. This is relevant to Jehovah's Witnesses, the Watchtower. They're demons. They're the Nephilim engaged in that. And they're engaged in terrorism as well. That's relevant to what you should not listen to. It's in case you didn't already know. Jehovah's Witness is not a follower of Christ Jesus, and the criminal conduct, the demonic behavior of these demons, these false witnesses, is evidence of that as well. Okay? But the actual truth, because you can meet somebody that'll lie and say that they're a Christian, you know them by their deeds. If you're engaged in targeting another Christian, the Holy Spirit is not persecuting the Holy Spirit. No, you're not. No, you're not. All right, you'll know them by their deeds, and the Holy Spirit is not targeting. The Holy Spirit isn't targeting any people. Holy Spirit isn't engaged in perversion, targeting another person's genitalia, stalking, and doing so, and engaging what is sex trafficking children, engaging what is making up malicious assertions of a predatory nature. That has nothing to do with Christ Jesus, and it's relevant to what the government is doing. Okay, they also like to wear a cloak as though they're Bible-believing Christians, and they're not. They're all under the fake sun. Of all races. P.O.C. And what I captured with regard those Satanists. Satanists refer to themselves as Christians. Satanists refer to themselves as Jehovah's Witnesses. Satanists refer to themselves as atheists. All right, Satanists refer to themselves as politicians and celebrities, by the way. They just don't use that term to you, and you will know them by their deeds. But I will be clear, the fake sun follows to this venue where a whole bunch of demons, a whole bunch of Satanists, the Nephilim, are engaged in surveillance while the fake sun remains over me. So unless there's 14 suns, they were all sitting under no sun, and the fake sun follows me, and you're just sitting inside staring at a laptop, that's the entity that's going to be prosecuted for its obvious mental illness. The malice of the entity that is engaged in gang stalking. All right, this is the pattern of conduct, and the fake sun is shown in evidence, again, to be following me to this venue where it's still present at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. P.O.C. It's 11:43 a.m. All right, it is still Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. And as you can hear, the entity is still engaged in stalking. And is doing so following me from the OVITT Family Community Library, my ultimate destination, back to 537 North Euclid Avenue. And this is documentation of the Nephilim. And these are legally to be prosecuted as what they are. The sexual violence, these are sex offenders. And the stalking, these are stalkers. And they are also co-conspirators to murder. These are also clinically, with regard to the need for an official diagnosis, these are psychopaths that are stalking me with engineered light. And this is the stalking with light behavior. Psychopaths that are stalking me using commercial planes, psychopaths that are stalking me in police vehicles, etc. And this is the documentation of the vast amount of the people of the state that I want to make sure I note specifically by podcast, including this is a sex offender engaging in what is stalking, sexual violence, monitoring my vagina in the bathroom as an entity, doing so through what are 3 males. This is the Nephilim engaging in surveillance in the OVITT Family Community Library at or around 8:45 p.m., maintaining present surveillance outside of the women's restroom, going into the male restroom in relevant position, maintaining what is surveillance inside of that private space. 8ZKY682 is monitoring my vagina in doing so with those sex offenders that are sharing in surveillance as an entity inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. And so is all the entity that I'm documenting by license plate as they're molesting me with impossible light, maintaining criminal surveillance while they are stalking as demons as I go from place to place. License 8TBX605 is sharing in that sexual assault and battery as an entity and monitoring my vagina as a sex offender, acting as an entity, engaging in surveillance inside of the bathroom of the OVITT Family Community Library. 8XTS590. The same sex offense committed, and license 9LHN663, the same sex offense committed, keeping my vagina under surveillance inside of the bathroom. Stalking me as I'm reading these license plates is the sex offender with license plate 8R53934, stalking in the path, following behind me as I'm walking down the street, sharing in that sexual assault and battery with engineered light as an obsessed entity that is indeed engaging what is keeping the bathroom surrounded and engaging in what is monitoring the evidence of their sexual violence, of their obsession with me. And this isn't nothing other than the obsessed psychopath and conspirator with regard to murder who is sitting around waiting just to be arrested. While they're stalking the federal prosecutor, they're sitting around monitoring their impending prosecution. They're monitoring the evidence as is uploaded, and they are under no circumstances slowing down in stalking. And that includes the Ontario Police, who you witnessed engaged in blatant making up of information and a kidnapping. Monitoring my vagina is the documentation that they're engaged in. The documentation proves that they are engaged in monitoring my vagina, stalking, and engaging in what is demonic behaviors, which is relevant to psychological torture, harassment, and terrorism, while they're engaged in the pattern of conduct as a corrupt agency. 7M, I can't really see that one, 9SFJ086, I believe, but I can't really see that one. You can scratch that one. 8EMH056, and this is license plate 9NKM316. These are all sex offenders. None of their headlights is going to reach. I'm capturing the Nephilim while I'm showing you on the opposite sides of the street. You will pay attention to the demons that are stalking with the method of light in the path. This is what the entity is doing with the fake sun. So while the fake sun remains over me all day long, all of the demon possessed are stalking with light. At nightfall, it is highlighted, it's underscored when you're looking at methods of stalking with light, which is absolutely mentally deranged behavior. These are indeed sex offenders. These are indeed psychopaths. These are indeed stalkers, and they are the Nephilim conspiring murder of the one whom they are targeting with this demented behavior as an entity together, which is psychologically harmful criminal activity that is committed by the government in concert with a whole population. Okay, and that includes what is CHEVRON, ARCO, Starbucks. That includes the OVITT Family Community Library, which is nothing other than a venue of the City of Ontario that's sharing in what is surveillance, obsessive surveillance of my vagina, which is also why things like the demon calling himself a mayor is being removed from office, the demons calling themselves a city council is being removed from position, the demons calling themselves an airport, where all they're doing is engaging in surveillance. The published flights on the website are nothing other than a cover regarding regarding what's supposed to appear on the surface as an airport maintaining a business when they're engaged in surveillance. That's why they're flying over the ARCO outside of what's even published on that website in the specific environment, pursuant to what is stalking with light, pursuant to what is that pattern of conduct. This is an entity that's going to be removed accordingly. You don't need an airport while you're engaged in criminal conduct. You don't need a police department that's only engaged in and committed to criminal conduct. You don't need that fire department. This is a criminal waste expenditure of funds with regard to murder, criminal activity. And this is what the federal government is witnessing as I maintain and publish the evidence regarding this criminal system that the demon possessed, who do things as demented as stalking with light and then molesting you with light as an act of retaliation, as an act of aggression, like you see the demon, employee number 3833, committing under the fake sun. This is what they're doing at nightfall, molesting with what is not headlights, in the same way that sunlight's not reflecting off of the bus and then sweeping all across the sidewalk. Those are psychopaths. Okay, and that is, again, behavior that is directly relevant to diagnosis for actual mental illness and criminal activity at the same time. All right, the entity is engaging in this on the roads and the highways, which is relevant to interstate commerce, where federal stalking under Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2 is underway. 9 PGB 890, 9 PGB 989, I believe. That's what that license plate says. But nonetheless, this is the entity that is engaged in the sex offense together. The entity maintaining surveillance. Every license plate is representing an entity that committed kidnapping together. The entity that committed assault with a deadly weapon together. This is the entity that committed what is harassment and false allegations that are defamatory in substance. Because what's the significance of the gang stalking police department and the people of the state stating that you're harassing people in Gornwell and telling them, you're stalking me, which never happened. But what's the purpose of making that sort of false allegation? How are you depicting the character of that person that you're accusing of that? And the entity has to go outside of its way to try to falsely depict my character as one that is far from that, while I'm documenting, knowing exactly what they're doing, maintaining my composure, and even beating them at their own game with regard to the entity that doesn't talk to you, doesn't know you, doesn't address you, and is obsessively stalking and monitoring you. I don't know you, I don't talk to you, I don't even address you, and I'm documenting you. And I do so maintaining the same conduct that you do, while you make allegations against me. I don't make any allegations against you. The entity is engaged in what is projecting their paranoid schizophrenia, in other words. The entity does so to commit a kidnapping on September 28, 2025. And the entity includes Joseph Valencia, Vivanco, and Durham, who are going to federal prison. And they are monitoring my vagina, and then they committed that kidnapping, and they're still monitoring my vagina now while the entity is engaging in what is surrounding the women's restroom, stalking inside of a library all day long, monitoring from place to place, okay? That's the significance of the fake sun being over the Ontario Police Department. That's the significance of the fake sun being over me through the window of the omnibus Route 87, both there and back. That was two different times. That was during the 7 a.m. hour, and then that was during the 11 a.m. hour. The same conduct of the fake sun visible through the windows of that bus taking Route 87. And the entity keeping the fake sun over the entrance while it should have already been at the entrance. The documentation shows that that fake sun traveled to remain over me en route to the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library, where my vagina, where the bathroom is a private space that is maintaining, where the entity is maintaining surveillance, stalking me, just like I'm documenting the people of the state. Okay, so this is understanding the significance of every license plate that I read, understanding the criminal activity of every entity, actor within that entity as I document them. Okay, and this is within the license plates and the venues that are documented on the Google Drive, and I'm also just reciting them on the podcast, because predators, co-conspirators to murder, the Nephilim, demons, psychopaths, kidnappers, serial killers, in other words, maniacal psychopaths, they need to be as clearly identified as can be, okay? So that's why they are documented on the Google Drive. You can see them, you can see the license plate, but I want to make sure that I give voice to the predators in the way in which I have at the ways in which I have available at my disposal, okay? So this is the entity that's monitoring in real time, that's legally relevant, and this is the entity that's monitoring evidence regarding its impending prosecution, its impending raids, its impending convictions, it's impending commitments, it's impending convictions that's going to result in time in prison, okay? And nobody's going to prison for 3 days. Nobody's going to prison for a weekend, okay? So this is the entity that's still obsessively engaging in that, and this is relevant to the mental illness of those that are engaged in the pattern of conduct, and this is indeed identification of those who are the Nephilim, okay? License 7CKS 778, 8TJE 732, 7PLN 467. License 17464F2, and that's a commercial vehicle, Pacific Coast Propane. That's a third-party gang stalking company, and the demon operating that vehicle is engaged in the pattern of conduct, and so is that business. 7VIF 776, 89870P3, 7BAL 376, 7KEW 794. Ontario Police gang stalking vehicle number 1119, documented at Emporia Place Apartments at 6:30 a.m. And I did document the Ontario Police Department's co-defendants residing at Emporia Place as well on the podcast. You heard their license plates already. License plate 8YHG095. The co-defendants of the people of the state are identified while the demons are stalking in a commercial plane over Euclid Avenue at 9:31 p.m. That is as criminal as molesting with impossible light, and it is as criminal as stalking by helicopter while the entity sounds that activity, while the people of the state are sharing in real time with that criminal conduct, including the license plates that I'm reciting. 21799M2. The entity fails in being a distraction. This is, again, the entity that is intellectually impotent and inferior. Well, I will remind you about what I already took an image of, and that is the screenshot showing what the airport reflects as departures that are scheduled, and there's not another one scheduled until 10 p.m. It's 9:32 p.m. where you can hear that plane activity that is admitted criminal conduct that will never even occur in the first place, where departures, landings, and takeoffs are actually happening over the airport, which is not going to occur over the storefronts of 537 or 531 or 507 North Euclid Avenue over this storefront, or over ARCO across the street, okay? That's the entity that's engaging what is monitoring in real time. And that's as foolish as being in the federal court and engaging in what is pointing a gun at the judge or threatening the judge or engaging in what is interfering with witnesses that are intending to testify in court. That's what the entity is doing while they're monitoring in real time. All right, but that's the entity that is, again, providing evidence against the co-defendants who I am documenting by license plate, and it does very much include the third party whose license plate I just read. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat that, because that's the entity that's engaging in what is criminal activity in real time, and license 21799M2 is sharing in the criminal pattern of conduct with the city of Rialto. License plate, and that is the license plate of the sex offender that was molesting with impossible light activity this morning, and the commercial vehicle of the third-party business that's engaging in the pattern of conduct as well. That is the modern real estate shop engaged in the sex offense, sexual assault and battery, while a demon, a psychopath, a sex offender, operates that vehicle, molesting me with light while the entity was stalking in the sky space with planes over Emporia Place where I was reading license plates. Not coincidentally, the pattern of conduct, as I'm documenting license plates of the people of the state that would like to assert that they're innocent and not a part of the criminal system that the state of California is maintaining. That is an untenable position, however. UAZ 3954, Virginia, and Melly's Speed Shop, which is located at 115 South Palm Avenue in Ontario, California. That's a gang stalking company. License plate, that's a third party. That's identification of a third party. License 8TVY665. License plate 1693849, operated by employee number 3833, driving bus number 3001. that I departed at 7:54 a.m. under the fake sun at Riverside Drive and Archibald Avenue, where the fake sun is present at 7:54 a.m., where it is also present at 11 as I get on the same route headed back toward Euclid Avenue, where the entity kept the fake sun going toward the entrance. And then it arrives, it plops itself over the entrance. As I arrive at the entrance, the sun wasn't already at the entrance. That's why it was over me at Archibald and Riverside Drive. That's why it was over me at the Ontario Police Department. That's why it was over me on the 11 a.m. bus ride back to Ontario off of Euclid Avenue at the OVITT Family Community Library. And that's the identification of demons who are stalking in commercial planes, who are stalking and sharing in the perpetual sex offense, including surveillance of my vagina inside of the bathroom of the OVITT Family Community Library. Continuing with license plates. License, let's see. 03891B4. Let's see, it looks like WP067, excuse me, WP06722. License plate 8UZJ217. Yeah, license plate 9AXP855. All right, this is another homosexual female, keeping my vagina under surveillance, stalking as an entity, molesting with impossible light, lurking around, stalking me obsessively. And this is the conduct, this is the demented mind state of the Nephilim, the demon possessed. License plate 1302413. This is a homosexual. This is a homosexual predator. Okay, so I'm not just calling out people as homosexuals and you're a predator because you're a homosexual. No, these are women that live their lives as though they're heterosexual. Okay, they're with their significant others in real time while they're stalking me together. They're engaged in stalking me in bathrooms. They're engaged in molesting me with light, meaning you're going out of your way to touch me with that which isn't even real. Like it's been created, engineered in order for you to touch me while you're stalking me and obsessively keeping me under surveillance, both obsessed with me and obsessed with my genitalia. I've already revealed the secrets of the demon possessed, and those that are of the female gender, that is heterosexual violence amongst predators that are females engaging in the pattern of conduct. That's what I mean by a homosexual predator. One that needs to be truthfully identified, their true orientation while they're engaging in sexual violence. That's what I'm referring to, okay? Because not everybody that is a homosexual is engaged in what is preying upon other men, women, or children, okay? And you have to have facts and information in order to establish that, in order to prove that. The demon-possessed are sex offenders obsessed with my vagina, keeping me under surveillance, and it includes every female in the state of California, regardless of how they live their lives on a day-to-day basis. These are the demon-possessed. This is the Nephilim. And you are a sex offender, and you are a homosexual predator while you're obsessed with my vagina, keeping it under surveillance, and that's exactly what the Nephilim are doing. Okay, and she is doing so on the roads and the highways, touching me with that which isn't even naturally occurring. That's speaking to the desperation with which she is stalking me and wanting to reach out and touch me in one way or another as a demon, monitoring me, obsessed with me. Okay, and that's how you are logically and legally analyzing what is the demented mind state and the criminal activity of the entity. All right, this is a school bus, by the way, driven by, I believe this is Chaffee Joint Union High School, that is operating license number 1302413, under the fake sun, which you keep a fake sun over me so that everybody that's obsessing with over me is molesting at the same time. This is a demonic orgy, if you will, with regard to molesting my person with light while they're all stalking, pacing all around, psychopaths, demons engaging in monitoring together. This is putting the psychopaths in the true context of what they are actually doing and what their objective is as they do it. And it is nothing close to anything remotely natural or normal, okay, or healthy or sane. License plate 8PQN171. Flowers Bakeries, Sales of SoCal, LLC, US dot 4172307 and California number 644999. They are stalking and monitoring me as a corrupt business. The business is, at least they're carrying Nature's Own. That's a bread line. They sell it at many grocery stores. That's a gang stalking company, and the license plate is 07724C4, and this is a demon that's engaged in what is operating this commercial vehicle, what that is engaged in the criminal pattern of conduct, which is identifying that company as a third party engaged in the state's pattern of conduct, the company engaging in criminal activity. License 8ZCZ576. License 1591658, vehicle 1028 is what I'm documenting on Riverside Drive, where the Ontario Police Department are stalking under the fake sun. And that's documented on the podcast at 8:13 a.m. And then the entity went about departing from having a fake sun over me, where the Ontario International Airport is stalking on Euclid Avenue. At that time, the entity is keeping a fake sun, departing from that, exposing Ronald Leverage, Julia Gu, Alan D. Wapner, Kurt Hagman, all of the demons that are calling themselves an airport board, an airport authority. They are no such thing. They are nothing other than the Nephilim, engaging in domestic terrorism, stalking and monitoring and terrorizing, sharing in what is monitoring my vagina as a function of the city of Ontario, and evidence through what is amplified audible activity that's relevant to the mental illness of Ronald Leverage, the mental illness of Julia Gu, the mental illness of Alan D. Wapner, the mental illness of Kurt Hagman. These are demons that are actually the Nephilim engaging in terrorism in the state of California, in the city of Ontario. And that amplified audible activity, the amplified sound of planes flying in a location where no planes are going to be hovering when you're engaged in legitimate, lawful conduct as an airport that's not engaged in targeting a specific individual, that's also prosecuting you and exposing you as a sex offender, keeping my vagina under surveillance, because that's what the Ontario Airport Board is engaging in. And they're doing so while the Ontario police are gang stalking with the rest of the people that stayed on Riverside Drive, as a fake sun is on that street, and it is not on Euclid Avenue, where the sun would never, as you already know, be at the on the same street in alignment to me from sunrise until sunset. So you already know what the Ontario Police Department are and what they're doing on Riverside Drive today. You already know what the demons are doing right now, where you hear that amplified audible activity, as I refer to sex offenders by the name of Julia Gu, sex offender Ronald Leverage, sex offender Alan D. Wapner, sex offender Kurt Hagman, who are keeping my vagina under surveillance, engaging in the sex offense as an entity, sexual assault and battery, while the entity is stalking using commercial planes. Through the terrorist, every airline identified accordingly that's associated with the Ontario Police Department. Okay, and that's the significance of the entity stalking by commercial planes in an environment where the entity is sharing in that criminal activity in real time. Okay, that amplified audible noise is relevant to what is monitoring by the demons calling themselves an airport board. Okay, the perpetual sex offense, surveillance of my vagina, shared by this third party, license 7UAA806, a sex offender, stalking, in furtherance of murder and kidnapping, license EF37B67, a sex offender, keeping my vagina under surveillance, doing so as an entity that is together obsessed with me, stalking me, and is consumed with me, even maintains a whole fake life and existence surrounding me and everything that they are doing pertaining to me, which is about me. Okay, and they engage in this as the Nephilim, as the demon possessed, as actual psychopaths, as violent sex offenders and obsessed stalkers, who are all demon possessed. License 9ENG775 is a part of that same ongoing sex offense committed as an entity, going to the extent to spend millions of dollars using commercial airline planes to keep me under surveillance, to stalk me, and keep my vagina, which is very, very important to the demon possessed, under surveillance. 6JGW171 is also engaging in that sex offense. DD86Y67, that's a paper plate on a BMW. Engaged in stalking, 6 HUK 172. License 8 ETM 728. License 9 UBJ 871. License 9 SEB 524. A license 33596U1. 8 UTR 630. The entity engaged in obstruction of justice today, a sex offender engaging in surveillance as an entity and doing so without any license plates anywhere, no means of identification on that vehicle, which is what the Nephilim engage in while they both want to monitor my vagina, be close to me, stalk me, molest me, touch all over me, and follow me around, but they just don't want to be identified as such. And the entity is engaging in that criminal act and obstruction of justice together in the same way that they commit assault and battery as an entity, and that they commit sexual assault and battery as an entity, in the same way that they commit kidnapping as an entity, in the same way that they conspire murder together as an entity. All right, and that was documented at the ARCO that had the fake sun over me at that ARCO, where there's no sun over Euclid Avenue, where Ronald Leverage and Julia Gu and Alan D. Wapner and Kurt Hagman, etc., Jim Bowman are sharing in a sexual assault and battery, monitoring my vagina, stalking me obsessively, and using commercial planes while wanting to double as a legitimate airport. And it's not. License 96915V3. License plate. Looks like license plates. Let me go through. License 38563V2. Stalking at the Ontario Police Department. Fake sun at 8:46 a.m. But yet the entity is stalking by the Ontario International Airport at the Ontario Town Square, 224 North Euclid Avenue. While I am seated at the Ontario Town Square facing the direction west, is not in the same position. It's not in the same sky space. It's not to the adjacent to the clock. At the Ontario Town Square, while I'm capturing it at the Ontario Police Department at 2500 South Archibald Avenue, adjacent to the 60 freeway. Those are not the two same locations. The sun is not going to be over both at the same time. This is requiring more than one sun. This is the environment where the Nephilim are engaged in surveillance and monitoring my vagina is what is underway. That's what is exposed. That's what's being addressed as a matter of a population engaging in a shared sex offense committed as an entity. All right, while the entity includes what is a fake sun in doing so. All right, license plate PRIV4T3 is what is bearing on this vehicle, this Chevrolet, a white license plate, and an African-American male gets out and engages in surveillance inside of the Ontario Police Department. And then he is engaged in what is riding his bike, gang stalking me at the bus stop as well. But I want to be clear, he gets out of a vehicle which may or may not even have a real license plate on it. These are all the ways in which the entity is going to be prosecuted. And it's also evidence that they're engaging in surveillance. Because why are you removing license plates? Why are you trying to engage in stalking and not identifying? It's ongoing knowledge of surveillance. And how do you know that you're being documented? But for engaging in surveillance. Also surveillance that's underway on the internet in real time on communication devices, like I already asserted at the outset. The entity is aware of what I'm doing on my phone in real time. The entity is engaged in what is stalking me everywhere that I'm going. The entity is engaged in what I publish on the internet in real time. That's why you engage in things such as not showing your license plate. That's why you engage in things as putting up paper plates covering up your license plate. That's why you engage in things such as putting up fake license plates. That's why you engage in things such as stalking with commercial planes, which is evidence against the entire entity while you do so. But that's the entity that's, again, exposing the people of the state who are going to be prosecuted as the enemies of the United States as that they are. Okay? License plate. And it's speaking to deporting the immigrants that fill the city of Ontario, because the federal government has what is the jurisdiction and the authority under the law based on terrorism by the residents, everyone that is residing in the city of Ontario, to be deported for domestic terrorism. While the government engages in what is stalking me by planes, having no other means, and stalking me by planes also isn't a means, because obviously I'm still documenting, and I'm also going to document that because that lets you know what the immigrants are engaging in the city of Ontario with the city of Ontario, which is a basis to deport. Okay? And it is, let me see, under ongoing surveillance inside of the Ontario Police Department, which is what I'm documenting, and that is underway also as I'm capturing the specific environment, which is also inside of the Ontario Police Department. The engineer light, my shadow appearing above my head, engineer light appearing on the ceiling, inside of the depths of a building. How do you even, this is the entity that's very highly unintelligent. Very highly unintelligent. Very highly unintelligent, stalking in real time with planes, while that's not a distraction from documenting the demons who are gang stalking with you. This is the entity that doesn't understand the definition of a conspiracy and how you're prosecuting a conspiracy. But of course not, because this is the Nephilim. And that is speaking to a reference to the demon possessed, who are the tail, in other words, not the head. And they don't even know what's going on while they are being literally obliterated with evidence to prosecute them to a scientific degree, by the way. Okay, this is the entity that's sharing in a sex offense and engaged in that sexual violence as an entity that keeps my vagina under heavy surveillance. And that's also a basis for removing the airport in the city of Ontario and removing the gang stalking so-called police department. That's not a police department, however, and it's unfortunate to even refer to that as a police department, the Ontario Police, because it is a responsibility to not, in an unresponsible manner, even acknowledge the Ontario Police Department as law enforcement while they're engaging in this criminal pattern of conduct. There is a clear distinction, and you're going to prosecute those that want to abuse what is the corruption of the executive branch and speak of it as any sort of thing remotely close to law enforcement, because it's not. It's not. It's gang stalking, it's demonic activity, it's criminal surveillance. It is not law enforcement, neither is that a police department. And Satan is not going to be confused with it, because that's what Satan is doing so, calling yourself that and dressing up like you're that and trying to walk around like you have authority as though you're in that position does not make you legitimately so. And while you exercise that, which you do not actually have under the law, I'm noting that, I'm documenting it, because I'm going to prosecute you according to reality. And that's the day that you're going to regret it. A psychopath in real time continues to engage in it, like this sex offender license, 9TOH745, monitoring my vagina, stalking obsessively in the middle of the night, doing so while the sex offender is listening to the evidence of their sexual violence and engages in it in the face of that American citizen. That's the impunity of the predators that are the people of the state. And that includes the entity that's making up a fake police department, making up a gang stalking airport, making up an immigrant population of terrorists who are going to be deported in each aspect. Each status is going to be dealt with regard to the enemies of the United States. They're serial killers. They target American citizens. They prey upon them. They psychologically torment them before they murder them. And they engage in sexually violating them together as an entity in demented manners. Manners that are so unheard of, I had to document it systematically in order to gain enough of it so that you can recognize what the predator does and how the predator behaves and what the predator's behavior means under the law, because that's how you're going to prosecute it. That's how unheard of the psychopaths that are the Nephilim, their gang stalking system is. Okay? I had to create a repository of evidence in order to identify it, because that's how sick they are. That's going to be removed to never be confused with the law, with the police department. Okay, license 4VNS 979. License plate 1682530. That's the municipality gang stalking. And license plate, yeah, EH06P23. That's a paper plate. Engaged in prolonged surveillance at the ARCO in at the Ontario Plaza, where the Ontario Police Department is located, engaging in what is that surveillance while the fake sun is over that ARCO, and sharing in what is a molestation. This is an entity that's engaging in ongoing sexual violence in real time while they're being documented, okay? All of the demons are together listening, and all the demons are together are in their sick minds. I'm going to go engage in a sex offense right now. I'm engaging in a sexual assault and battery is what they're engaging in as an entity, and so is this third party while they're listening to them being documented and published on the website. The entity is going to be prosecuted for that. Okay, this is relevant to their real-time charges. They engage in real-time criminal conduct with real-time knowledge, and they're accumulating real-time charges. Okay, that's the entity. That's, again, the sex offenders that commit murder, that commit rape, that engage in pedophilia, that engage in trafficking, and they do so as a psychopath's means of exacting revenge while you're enforcing your rights to not be subject to sexual violence and stalking. Don't keep my vagina under surveillance, please. Oh, I'm going to engage in a sexual assault and battery because I'm hostile to you exposing that. That's the demon possessed. Okay, they are engaging in what is stalking, not engaging in what is driving on the street and happening to touch me with light. It's engineered light. All they're doing is stalking and doing so, and they do it as hostile sex offenders, sharing in the perpetual sex offense, as maniacal psychopaths who are unraveling at the seams in real time while they're waiting for things like federal raids, they're waiting for arrests, they're waiting for charges to drop, they're waiting to be in federal court. And while they're waiting, they are witnessing their oncoming demise. They're also waiting for things like voodoo and black magic to execute itself upon them, because that's also what they committed as the demon-possessed entity, engaging in what is a failed sacrifice. And even amongst the failed sacrifice, they're still just spinning their wheels, because these are, in fact, mentally ill demons. So all they know to do is engage in this ongoing cycle, which is to their own demise. This is mental illness in real time, I kid you not. It's literally mental illness, okay? The entity is engaging what is flying over the top of my head right now, stalking. Capturing that at what is 9:55 a.m. while the entity is molesting my body. That's the city of Ontario is going to be prosecuted, like I stated, engaging in what is the government's going to be prosecuted as a sex offender. This is unprecedented because the government's criminal activity is unprecedented, but it's exactly what the government is. The government's a stalker, the government is a terrorist in the United States, and the government is a sex offender. The government's engaged in what is demonic as well. That's what you're deducing from it. You're not even deducing it. This is what has been proven to you, that the government makes up the Nephilim. Okay, and it is only Satan that can come up with this level of depravity, and that is, again, sexual violence as a means of what? Retaliating, because I'm telling everybody that you're a sex offender, and I'm not just telling, I'm going to prosecute you for it. All right, so that's the entity that's engaging in that, and as I recite that license plate, that third party is engaging in what is a sexual assault and battery in real time as an entity. With maintaining real-time knowledge. And these are demons that are just pacing all around me like sharks in the water, because that's all they're doing. This isn't traffic. They're all listening to me. They're all stalking me. They're all maintaining presence around me while they are obsessing as an entity. And that includes a fake police department. Okay. Again, let me read the license plate of the demons that are stalking in relevant position at the ARCO, where the entities engage in that sex offense together. That's a psychopath engaging in who is taking time out of their day to engage in surveillance of somebody, and all I did was go inside and buy some ice. But why is that the highlight of the demon-possessed day? Because these are psychopaths that are obsessively consumed with following me around and engaging in what is any means of being around me and making what they believe to be some sort of impact on me, and it's not. It's impacting their life in an irreversible manner. The entity that is engaged in what is skateboarding, or the entity that's engaged in what is driving by, is engaged in what is sensational activity. That's a demon that's causing the concrete to shake. In the same way that's a demon that's causing sunlight to ricochet off of the outside of their car while they drive by me outside. In the same way that's a demon that's stalking in the path while the fake sun remains in alignment to me. That's demonic behavior. That's the Nephilim. Okay, that's committed right now. That's terrorism at 9:57 p.m. License 4VNS 979 is being prosecuted, accumulating charges as an entity while the entity engages in that in real time, because I'm documenting them. License, again, EH06P23 paper plate. And understand, this is what you're witnessing. If mental illness had a movie, this would be it. Okay, if mental illness had a means of identifying it, it's license 1682530. Okay, because while I am documenting in real time the demon possessed commit more and more criminal activity, and this is manifest mental illness, the entity that wanted to maintain closeted mental illness all around you, and you need to be aware of the instability that surrounds you, the threat to your life and safety that surrounds you. Okay, you need to be aware of that. And that's literally what's happening. You're not creating an earthquake in the sidewalk while you're skating by or riding by or walking by or driving by or flying by. Those are demons. And those are demons also, they show their obsession with me while they engage in that. This is an entity that is very mentally disturbed, and it is very much perturbed by the fact of my logically pointing out where they misconstrue everything that's wrong with them. Your pattern of conduct of monitoring me is showing how deranged you are, showing how obsessed, therefore, you are with me. You're the one crouching in bathrooms to monitor me and stalk me. And there are also legal references with regard to what you are, a label, and it's a sex offender. There's something wrong with you. You're not harming me. I'm here to prosecute you. I'm here to give attention to you so that the world knows who you are and what your patterns are, so that they are not approached with a murderer unbeknownst to them. That's what you need to pay attention. You need to know when a murderer is around you and in your presence, a murderer that doesn't want you to know that they're there, that they're threatening you, that they will harm your children, and you are leaving them to watch your children in your absence. You need to know that the Nephilim are predators, spiritually attacking your children and their mind state, and also physically attacking them, sexually harming them. That's a physical attack. You need to know about these, the Nephilim, that are engaged in targeting me and are very much projecting to their own demise, that which I'm not confused about at all. The entity's convicting itself while you're stalking with sensational activity. You're convicting yourself while you're stalking with impossible light. You're convicting yourself while you're perpetually present, not going anywhere. You are excuse me, exposing your own mental illness, because none of this is about traffic. It's all about stalking me. That's what's so both pathetic, and it's also informative to you who are witnessing the exposure of Satan, the Nephilim, the demon-possessed population, who in America are posing as the body of government that's keeping American citizens under surveillance, un-American criminal conduct, a betrayal of its own citizens, of the constituents of the state, including while they do so with those that make up the population. The utmost betrayal of the American public. That's what the government is, and it's the Nephilim. And while they engage in targeting me, I am prosecuting. The prosecution is already complete. Okay? I'm literally watching the mentally ill unravel. And like I said, if mental illness had a movie, this would be it. Okay? If mental illness could be captured in a picture, this would be it. All right? License plate. This is the entity exposing itself. This is the entity unraveling itself. This is the entity engaged in what is incapable of handling exposure, but they sacrifice other people. They murder other people. They traumatize other people, and they derive pleasure from it. And they can't handle when justice is being turned on them. They can't handle it. And it's not just this justice, honey, an exposure, embarrassment, and also a prosecution. It's judgment by God himself. It's judgment by God himself. And an aspect of it is this very exposure and a prosecution, but it goes well beyond this. All right, license plate. (9JOX 899). License 9CRV 737. License 4LKZ 099. Many of these I did recite at the Walgreens, where the entity had the fake sun over me at 10 o'clock in the morning and not over the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library. And I'm laughing because the entity is pathetic, all right? When you're hearing sirens, that's the entity admitting to keeping me under surveillance through a function of the corrupt government. And that's very embarrassing. It's pathetic. And that's also evidence that they don't even need it. That fire department is not a fire department, and it's not needed. That police department is not a police department, and it's not needed. Obviously, it's not needed, okay, in this city. The gang stalkers that are the immigrants that make up the city, easily resolution, deport every single last one of them. The entity's engaged in this pattern of conduct, and it is providing what is a means of prosecuting a whole population that's engaging in what is un-American, that's engaging in what is criminal, that's engaging in what is terrorism together. All right. FedEx is gang stalking, and FedEx is doing so with license 65212Z1. I'm documenting that at the same Walgreens under the 10 a.m. fake sun, which I capture on video today. It's on YouTube, and I do provide you related content so that you can be reminded about what these demons on Euclid Avenue in the city of Ontario are doing. This is not traffic, like I said. This isn't traffic. This is surveillance. These are demons that are stalking me. And they're engaged in what is stalking, and all the psychopath knows to do when it becomes enraged. And why is it enraged? By definition, a psychopath is enraged by that which is speaking to exposing them for that which they intend to keep a secret. A psychopath is angered by exposing them as being a predator, as being a criminal, as being wrong in one way or another. A psychopath is enraged by that. A psychopath is angry about that. That needs to be exposed, okay? Meaning it needs to be identified by name, social security number, address. That needs to be identified by the jobs that wherever they have maintained employment. That needs to be identified with regard to wherever they reside, as a matter of public information in order to protect people from terrorists like that, because it's making up a whole population. That is what is the entity that is demon-possessed, engaging in the pattern of conduct. Psychopaths that are merely enraged, hostile, as you identify them. And what is the underlying? Yes, it's mental illness, but the underlying is because Satan, that is the spirit, wants to maintain a level of secrecy. And that secrecy is gone. And by the way, it's been gone. The demon-possessed are very highly delusional and in denial. Okay, so this has been years in the making. That's why you can refer back to evidence that I have from 2022, 2021, 2020, 2019. This is nothing new. The entity engaged in what is obstruction of justice. And that's relevant to how many years they're getting in federal prison. That's it. That's relevant to how much of a threat they are as an entity, so that you know what American citizens suffering in silence are being confronted with. The intent to keep it a secret, the intent to kill them off and silence them. That's why you're going to be prosecuted for terrorism. That's why you're going to be prosecuted as a corrupt business. That's why you're going to be prosecuted civilly and criminally. That's why you're going to be deported. That's why. What the entity committed is the same thing that is supporting federal legislation and the prosecution of that same entity. They didn't get away with anything. It's showing you what I stated at the outset. It is very much what I stated, and it is very much serious. Very serious. All right, stalking with light. I already read this demon's license plate. So they are engaged in stalking with light, accessing their vehicle. And this is the entity accessing their vehicle in relevant position, which is another method of stalking with light. Like I was documenting, under the fake sun at the Walgreens off of Archibald Avenue and Riverside Drive, which is not over the Ontario Town Square. It's not over Euclid Avenue. It's not outside of the windows of 507 North Euclid Avenue Starbucks. It's not over Economy Inn at 2301 South Euclid Avenue. Over my hotel room, creating any sunlight inside of my hotel room, my shadow inside of my hotel room, my any sort of sunlight on the ceiling inside of my hotel room. It's not creating any sort of sunlight outside of my hotel room window of the American Inn on Euclid Avenue. It's not creating. It's not going to be under the sun that's over or outside of the Chevron and the ARCO, or over the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library parking lot, or the entrance, or the 280 North Lemon Apartments, or the B&G Plaza, or the entity that's keeping the fake sun over the Stater Brothers. It's not over any of those locations. It's over the intersection, in alignment to me, at the Riverside Avenue and Riverside Drive and Archibald Avenue. That is very clearly distinct. That's not the same ecological address, not the same latitude and longitude. It is a grand departure from being anywhere on Euclid Avenue. And that's where an entity is proven stalking by all the ways in which they're stalking. They're stalking by planes. They're stalking by helicopter. They're stalking by fire department, by ambulance. They're stalking by police department. They're stalking as a corrupt businesses. This is how you know that Chevron is stalking me at 506 North Euclid Avenue. This is how you know that ARCO is stalking me at 434 North Euclid Avenue. This is how you know that Starbucks is stalking me at 507 North Euclid Avenue. And that's also how you know that that's a kidnapping committed on July 4th, 2025, for which justice requires federal prison. Bodies will be in cells for the kidnapping documented on July 4th, 2025. Bodies will be put in federal prison for that. You're serving time for it. It is currently 10:07 p.m., by the way. So the entity that's engaged in gang stalking in the specific environment does so to its own demise, does so with regard to the entity that is already surrounded with evidence speaking to an inevitable exposure, inevitable a prosecution for criminal conduct that's proven to a scientific degree of certainty. A scientific degree of certainty. License plate 4FK1699. That's a large truck monitoring on Archibald and Riverside Drive today. License 7TGK802. License 8MBZ235. License B4 and then a heart, NENA. So that's again license B4 heart, NENA. License 9ACB478. License ND226. That's a handicap plate. License 1639882 is the Ontario Police engaged in criminal summoning at Riverside Drive and Archibald Avenue. 2 males operating that, one is driving, the other in the passenger seat, 2 males. Vehicle number 1528, documented at 10:47 a.m. They engage in criminal summoning. I documented it in real time on my podcast today. They're doing so at or around 10:47 a.m. That's again Ontario Police engaged in criminal summoning. License 1639882. License 8XNR486. License 7ZOU049. License 9X390V3. License 88113G3. License 9BYB540. License... Bear with me, I comb through my evidence. License 8ZAT763. License 73273J2. License 7NHM280. License 7LLH449. Hold on 1 second. License 9NOK225. Student Transportation of America, which I believe I documented this, I recall, before OMNITRANS arrived, as I was documenting no arrival of a bus for over an hour. License 7JJX021, that's Student Transportation of America, that is gang stalking. License... 9FAY228. License 7S24177. UBA102. License 3619001. That's an Indiana plate regarding third-party gang stalker FedEx using a large truck to engage in surveillance at Riverside Drive and Archibald under the fake sun that is remaining at the intersection and not over the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library. It is not over the Ontario Town Square at 224 North Euclid Avenue. It is not on Euclid Avenue. It is not on Holt Boulevard. It is not over any hotel where I'm documenting the entity keeping the fake sun. It's not over Woodside Senior Apartments where I'm documenting the entity keeping the fake sun. Okay? FedEx is gang stalking me under it at Archibald and Riverside Drive at 10:59 a.m., which is, again, a scientific impossibility that the sun could be at the same time of year over the locations that I'm documenting every day before I went to the Ontario Police Department today, September 30th, 2025. Proof that the entity is stalking, and you are stalking as an establishment, you're stalking as a police department, you're stalking as a fire department, you're stalking as a mayor, a city hall, as a municipality, while I'm showing that specific environment, which is following me around, and so is everybody in that environment. And those that are engaging in that are the mentally ill Nephilim. And they're doing so in furtherance of murder. They stalk you until they can take your life. They stalk you until they can cause you to lose your mind, psychological torture. They stalk you, and they stalk you in unheard of and psychopathic means, such as stalking you with noise, stalking you with light, and stalking you as a population, maintaining presence in your path, like sharks circling around you 24 hours a day. Those are the demons that conspire your death, and it is state action. Okay, and the fake sun being at Riverside Drive and Archibald Avenue, where FedEx is gang stalking me, acting in conformity to a pattern of conduct by every business. That's the entity that is prosecuting itself. Okay, license plate 9JDE368 and license plate 1545878, I believe. That's OMNITRANS. License 8RKY117, and I documented that on the podcast. The entity was stalking at Mission and doing so with the City of Ontario, stalking in the path using light activity in alignment to the bus. So through the front windshield, the City of Ontario is in front of the bus, maintaining a method of flashing of light on the top of the municipality vehicles. That's light activity while you're engaged in surveillance under the fake sun. The fake sun is what is giving you context regarding what they're engaging in. And it's identification of stalking, it's identification of a demon, it's the identification of light activity pursuant to criminal surveillance. It's also the identification of what is a means of the demon-possessed that engage in their psychopathic behavior, their pattern of conduct, as they're hostile, as they're showing aggression, because they tend to engage in more and more of it. The more that I document, the more that they're triggered by what it is that I'm documenting, that they're keeping under surveillance. Right? So that's what you are also learning about the mentally ill that are engaging in the pattern of conduct. And looks like, yeah, the license plate of the entity is again 1545838. That is the OMNITRANS license plate. And the entity is gang stalking at the B&G Plaza, as I documented that, at 11:28 a.m. There's no sun over 215 E.C. Street at the same time. It's not. There's also no sunlight underneath the structure of that entrance. There's also no sunlight touching the building, like everything that's associated with that fake sun, as the entity creates an illusion for you. That's understanding what is speaking to what everything that's in that environment conducive to monitoring. This is letting you know the centrality of engineered light, where the demon-possessed are monitoring you in an environment that's supposed to on its surface appear completely natural and totally normal, and you are never supposed to suspect anything, okay? And it is an illusion. And as I break down for you the P.O.C, it's a very unintelligent and unpersuasive illusion, okay? And as they engage in more and more the pattern of conduct in the face of that evidence, you're just witnessing mental illness. The entity that wanted to conceal its obsession with me, the entity that wanted to conceal its envy of me, the entity that wanted to conceal its ongoing addiction to me, is proven as such, while they engage in that which they sought to engage in secretly, right in plain sight. And it's not a secret, and they are in plain sight mentally ill psychopaths and sex offenders and demons. Okay? License. Yeah, so then I'm in the, I'm just going through all my, license plate. Looks like license 6ZVG912 and license plate BV744. That's a handicap plate. And license plate 8PLB581 6NYD346 CP91136. And license plate 28609H3. Alrighty, and this has been P.O.C. The entity is engaged in a CEASELESS pattern of conduct. So this is, again, the entity that is obsessed with me, is keeping me under surveillance all night long. And in doing so, the entity is engaged in what is harassment as an entity. And in the same way that you're listening to the many license plates that I document, that's not even touching, that's not even a fraction of the amount of people who are demons that are sharing in what is sexual violence, sharing in criminal stalking, sharing in what is surveillance, okay? Doing so as an entity that is delusional. And that delusional mindset, that criminal activity, that sexual violence is also put in plain view for all the world to be aware of and witness, and also for a federal court to provide justice for, okay? All of this is centered around me, and that's the tragic reality of the demon-possessed. They don't even have lives of their own. They're not even concerned about actually themselves. They're concerned about the entity that is seeking to capture or surveil those that are of the light, if you will, because I walk with Christ Jesus, and I am different with regard to what is not of Satan. And that's what this entity is filled with, okay? So that's why I am a focus. In addition to what is my money, my wealth, and these demons, these psychopaths, these sex offenders, using their children to stalk me, using planes and helicopters to follow me around, stalking with absurdly psychopathic means of stalking, like with impossible light, which is a proven fact. Nobody's imagining that. These imbeciles thought that they were going to defame me. These mentally ill psychopaths thought that they were going to defame me and steal my wealth. So this is the entity that's going to be prosecuted to the nth degree, and the audacity of Satan. Highly unstable and imbalanced and unintelligent, thinking that you are going to surround me and inundate me with defamation and terror, and that I'm going to both lose my mind and not be able to expose you as the predator and the psychopath that you are. This is speaking for a whole other section that needs to be added with regard to the practice of medicine and diagnosing mental illness. That's how sick these demons are. And it is relevant for what is actual study. Okay, because there's been a lot of conditioning, a lot of propaganda regarding mental illness, and that's because the Nephilim are a part of the medical profession, just so that you know. The entities engaged in this conduct, and this is under no circumstances stealing my money, and what was stolen from me by Satan, I'm getting it back with interest, and the entity is going to be prosecuted for conspiring my murder. And this is instruction. This is a lesson. This is teaching. This is information regarding what this entity, what the government is doing in this country to other people. Okay, this is a failed sacrifice. This is the practice of witchcraft. This is demon possession. This is demonic activity. This is public corruption. Okay, this is criminal surveillance. All right, it is currently 10:20 p.m. and this is also P.O.C. License plates. Demon stalking with light, parked in the position in the event that I use the Wi-Fi. This is not coincidental placement for light in the path. These are demons, these are stalkers and predators. License 9BBL137 and not 7N409060. P.O.C. It's, by the way, 10:59 p.m. These are predators stalking in the night, doing so monitoring on the video of the internet, monitoring my vagina, monitoring molesting with light, engaging in sexual assault and battery, and doing so as psychopaths lurking and stalking a woman in the middle of the night, and doing so by aiming light around. Those are demons. This is P.O.C.